differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's just like old times. I got my little buddy here with me in Madison. Welcome, sir.
Crudy. Always a pleasure to be in the Madtown. Love it here in Madison. Fancy Brian on the board. Good to see you as well. Our fair audience. Big show today.
Dominic, you came to town because today is Census Day, right?
No, man. I thought we were having a cyberposium.
Well, we'll get to the cyberposium, and we're going to get to a conversation about the census. America, a lot less white than it used to be.
Uh-oh.
So, anyways, let's talk about that in the 3 o'clock hour, Dom, because there were some troubling headlines in our backyard this morning. I woke up, and it wasn't just the storms overnight or the brewer sweep of the Cubs. I know I promised not to mention that, but there I go. But I see this troubling headline. Official in charge of Wisconsin election review attends conspiracy-fueled symposium hosted by My Pillow Mike Lindell. I'm so excited. It's so hard to say.
There's so much going on.
A lot of alliteration in that statement, Dom.
A lot of worlds colliding, Crudy.
So let's talk about this for just a moment. And, bear with us, national audience. We appreciate you attending and joining us right on time. But there's this guy, Justice Gableman. I'm going to air quotes that.
Former
Justice Gableman, the most corrupted Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin history, at least I say. And he's in charge of the Republican efforts to reinvestigate.
Well, in charge of one of the several investigations going on here.
The official one, the one with subpoena power, as opposed to the, Assembly Republicans that are issuing invalid subpoenas. This guy actually has subpoena power. It's granted to him by the Speaker of the Assembly. And the Speaker of the Assembly hires this outside investigator, this former corrupted Supreme Court justice. And this guy goes out to South Dakota, not for Sturgis, goes out to South Dakota for the My Pillow Cybersecurity Symposium. Holy schmoly, Dom. And that's not all.
Wait, there's more?
There are more details here, Dom. Bob Spindell. And why would you know that name? Got absolutely no reason, unless you perhaps live in Wisconsin, to know Bob Spindell's name. Spindell rhymes with Lindell, like My Pillow guy. But Spindell also at the big cyber symposium, Dom.
And why does that matter?
He's a Wisconsin election commissioner. And he claims he's just out there, to check out the lay of the land, the scene.
Some fact checking.
Just checking things out.
Just making sure everything is A-OK.
And Dominic, there's at least one more Republican from the state of Wisconsin at the big cyber symposium. He's your buddy. He's Assembly backbencher, flamboyant dresser, Rep. Tim
Ramthun.
I didn't think it was important to get his name right.
But you should remember this man, Crudy. He was the guy back when we were at the Wisconsin Capitol. He went and got the cops on us.
He called the cops on us?
He was wearing the red Christmas shirt. They were doing their whole, Christmas caroling, putting up their third tree without permission. Remember that whole thing?
And we brought our own tree.
Yes, we did. Well, I thought the invite went out. Bring your tree, celebrate with us. So we went in.
And we brought a tree and we celebrated
and then I asked a couple of questions from the local, legislators there. And apparently Mr. Tim Ramthun at the time, wearing a bright red shirt, was not too pleased. And I believe he walked away, stepped out of the caroling circle to go get the po-po. And then we had a couple conversations with the police.
Just so everybody's aware.
Brian was there.
Yeah, I just want to.
You got a ticket.
I want to paint a picture. Rantham. It looks like, I don't think it was, but it looked like a flannel red shirt. But it probably looked like a red. It might not. It looked like he had just put it on and that was his Sunday best type of thing.
Oh, you should see
Very buttoned up.
You should see some of the other pictures
Oh, yes,
he's featured on these social medias. Like fuse ties and pink shirts, Tom.
Yeah, that guy. So again, you may not know him, but
Very
Patrick Marley
Don Johnson, early
Molly
1980s.
at the Journal Sentinel quickly here.
More like a
Rudy.
Bolo kind of guy.
Rampton, the Republican from Campbellsport, Wisconsin. He is at this cyber symposium, Crudy, along with Spindell, the Wisconsin Elections Commissioner, along with former Justice Gableman, who's in charge of the Speaker Voss's, forensics audit of our elections. He's out there. He had a speaking role.
I know, that's more troubling still.
He falsely claimed, according to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, at the symposium that voting software recently approved by the Wisconsin Elections Commission would scrub votes from machines used in the presidential election. They would scrub. Now, I would also note to you, Crudy, in previous reporting, I believe also at the Journal Sentinel, Gableman was quoted as saying that the Wisconsin Elections Commission, the unelected bureaucrats, that they would, quote, steal your vote. And he's in charge of this forensics, quote unquote, fraudit. And he's out there palling around with Mike Lindell and the cyber symposium crap show going on. Really?
And Bob Spindell, who's the Wisconsin Elections
Lindell,
Commissioner.
Spindell. I'm already getting them mixed up.
It is very troubling. And it's got a little hometown feeling to it, at least for us. We've known this troubling investigation, this big lie was coming our way, and it's coming our way in a big way. And we're going to try to set the record straight just a little bit later in this hour. We're going to bring the chairperson of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. We're bringing her back. We're going to try to, let's call it, inject reality into this dialogue. Because while we find the humor in it, the
gallows humor, perhaps.
What would you call this? The idiocracy going on at the symposium. Maybe the truth important in this conversation because it's undermining the confidence people have. And in fact, some would say maybe even inspiring violent insurrection. But, I'd like to put a shiny face on it.
Yeah, okay.
So let's keep going here, Dom. Ann Jacobs coming at 2:30, so like 15 minutes. The truth can wait for 15 minutes, Dom. But the lawsuit, there was some troubling news that came down during the course of the symposium. Now, Mike Lindell, has been promising he's got the receipts, and he's got a $5 million pledge that, if you can refute his evidence, or if this is not compelling, I'm not sure how or why he pays out the $5 million, Tom. But during the course of the symposium, during which he promised to stay up 72 hours straight, hell, he wasn't going to leave the stage. But then he got some troubling news from the federal courts. A Trump appointee yesterday dropped some news during the symposium. And since he hadn't left the stage, Tom, he broke it to the people live from the stage, did he not?
He was very troubled. Crudy, Sarah Burris reporting at the Raw Story. Mike Lindell, along with Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, lost their motion to dismiss the lawsuit against them from Dominion Voting Systems in federal court. Lindell is in South Dakota, where he's hosting a days-long symposium where he promised to deliver evidence showing that former President Trump won the 2020 election. After over 36 hours, Lindell has yet to provide the evidence. Instead, he and others complained that they needed access to more information or machines to find the evidence.
The routers. I need the routers.
Lindell had said that his information would be so compelling that the U.S. Supreme Court would reinstate Trump in a 9-0 ruling. Wasn't it supposed to happen tomorrow? Friday the 13th.
That's what he claimed. But then, that was just a placeholder date for a differing date to be named later. He's got a plan for a date.
We do have the sound of Mike Lindell reading and lamenting this court decision while he's on stage at the cyber symposium. Fancy Brian, you did the hard work. If you would, please, let's play it for the people.
Now, let me tell you, if that judge decided to let these cases could move forward, everything, your right to free speech, everyone out there that spoke up against these machines, Every single one. Now you wouldn't be able to go on any of these media outlets. You wouldn't be able to say Mark Zuckerberg. You wouldn't be able to have an opinion. You wouldn't be able, if you did, you'd be in fear of getting sued for everything. Well, this happened. What timing, everybody? Here's the, put it back up on the screen. What timing?
Do you want to do this live, Mike? Are you sure?
The federal judge just put in this afternoon, Dominion Voting Systems can move forward with defamation lawsuits against Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell.
Are you just reading this for the first time?
Can you believe that? That is horrible, everybody. Your First Amendment rights to free speech just got blown out of the water.
No, they didn't.
And what timing? Isn't this timing? You see what he put up on the board earlier? This is terrible for our country. It doesn't matter. None of you out there need to worry about me. We've got, but this is your right.
Sidney and Rudy.
Sidney, and this is just the start. There's over 200 lawsuits now that Dominion's filed for threatening letters. That means all of them can move forward because that set the precedent for our country.
Oh,
one of you out there say something bad about the vaccine company, say something bad about, I don't know, your neighbor. It's over. You can get sued for everything now. Nothing matters anymore. That was the last piece. Isn't it something they did it during this symposium?
Nothing matters anymore. You can have no opinion. You can be sued for anything and everything. Nothing matters anymore.
But the investigators, the Wisconsin former Supreme Court Justice, the corrupted Michael Gableman,
and the Wisconsin License Commissioner, and state legislators. Oh, aren't there? This is what they're getting into.
Well, they're doing it for us, though, for the voters of Wisconsin. So when they're, and Tony Evers just literally vetoed like 6 really bad election suppressive laws in the state of Wisconsin. But it moves from comedy to tragedy at some point.
Nothing else matters.
Come back with us. Hour 3, the census. When you hear census, think gerrymander, and that's going to get really bad. That's their next tool. More devils. Nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters.
And I'm serious. If you have any moral character about you, we're all in this together. I got nowhere else to go.
You'll get nothing like it.
COVID-19 vaccines are starting to become available across the country. Now is the time to get informed. Get the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. A message brought to you by the Ad Council and the CDC.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Catching up after work.
You said that? You really said that? I mean, you should have just seen it. Like, you should have been.
Getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. Get the latest info about COVID-19 vaccines at getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Scott Walker tweeting out from a La Quinta in a Rancho del Solio Ronald Reagan fashion shirt.
As the guy who's wearing a Bernie Sanders shirt, how can you rip on a guy for wearing a Ronald Reagan shirt?
Buddy, I got a Bernie bootleg on. This is cool on so many levels. You don't even know how cool I am.
I do not. If it could just be a little tighter.
It's 4 a.m. and you're sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. If you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Dom and Cruz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. You can join us at 844-967-2789, bottom of the hour, 2:30 Central Time. And Jacobs, the chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, going to join us on via the Zoom.
But Dominic, this a long distance dedication going all the way out to South Dakota and the Cyber Symposium. And your buddy, Rep Tim Ramtham.
Ramjam? Tim Ramjam?
Tim Ramjam. Conspiracist?
Yes.
That word stuck in my head.
And speaker at the Cyber Symposium.
Oh, let's not forget.
Yes.
And esteemed.
And well, I don't know about
speaker at the
esteemed.
Cyber Symposium.
They gave the man a mic, doesn't make him esteemed. Remember, he said at his speech, he claimed at the symposium, again, according to Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, that voting software recently approved by the Wisconsin Elections Commission would scrub votes from machines used in the presidential elections. Later in this article, Ramtham, again, this is a Wisconsin state legislator, wrongly told the symposium that he believed Dominion voting system machines and software recently approved for use in Wisconsin would wipe out records of votes from the presidential election. That is not true, said Reed Magney, a spokesman for the commission. Here's what Ramtham went on to say at the Cyber Symposium. If I'm told that the Dominion is currently in process of scrubbing the machines in my state, I've got a big problem with that. If I'm told that, then he has a problem with it.
See, he has to be told because he can't read because he's got a permanent 1,000-yard stare. That guy is just blank, just stare.
Almost like he's been a little steamed.
Like he can't really focus on anything. He's just permanently focused on the future.
And the first thing I want to do, he goes on to say, is how do I stop that right now in its tracks? How do I stop that to prevent further damage from occurring so we can continue the process of a true full forensics investigation to get the facts out to find closure?
The chief investigator from the state of Wisconsin's in the crowd. And there's another investigation that the Assembly Committee chairperson, Janelle Branchin, who we keep mentioning, she's also a little conspiratorial and crazy and propagating the big lie, of course. But her investigation's invalid because she doesn't have the power of subpoena, yet she's casting forth subpoenas. And then we've got the investigator and he's talking about we want this. The guy's in the crowd. That seems a little convenient. You're all on the same team. Am I the only one troubled by this? Is this a bad look for Wisconsin? I mean, I'm feeling a little Maricopa County right now.
We are not being represented well on the local and national scene, certainly not by these Republicans.
The other headline, want to make sure we got it out and perhaps time for some callers as well at 844-967-2789. When's it okay to throw a faker in there, Dom?
Okay.
When's it okay? Now, Rudy Giuliani apparently is claiming and made a legal defense in testimony to the FBI. Oh, sometimes, during the campaign, I was making it up, stuff about, FBI agents leaking Hillary emails.
Yeah, there's going to be a big surprise coming.
Fake. I was faking it. Dom, have you ever faked it?
Not that I recall, Crudy. Sometimes in my friendship with you. From the Washington Post, a little bit in the article here, during a February 2018 interview to try to determine if FBI agents had leaked Rudy sensitive information, Giuliani's then law partner and counsel, Mark McCaskey, opined that the standards for truth-telling are different in electoral politics than in legal matters. McCaskey said, in the heat of a political campaign on television, I'm not saying Rudy necessarily, but everybody embellishes everything. Oh, you could throw a fake at it, Giuliani, who, in addition to serving as mayor, of course, spent 8 years as a federal prosecutor. You're under no obligation to tell the truth, Murasaki replies, according to the transcript, to which Giuliani repeats, you could throw a fake. The FBI agent said, fake news, right? Right. Throw a fake.
Crap.
Just throw a fake. Just go out there, lie your ass off about anything and everything. As long as it's during a campaign, you can do it. But of course, that's not what the federal judge in the Dominion case found last night.
Well, Dominic, it's a 365, 24/7 campaign cycle, effectively. I mean, Donald Trump declared his reelection basically immediately after winning election.
It never ends, really.
So it never ended.
Yeah.
So effectively, by that logic, Giuliani is saying, I get to throw a faker in there anytime I want to.
I'm not an expert on the facts yet. I'm getting there.
Well, who cares if you don't know the facts?
Does
Just
it
throw
matter?
a faker in there.
But isn't truth. Truth isn't truth.
Integrity always a big thing to me, Dom. I know you're not a Christian man or a godly man, more of a heathen as I perceive you.
Well, some people view me as godly, mostly me.
You have a certain code, a certain integrity about you. You're very consistent in a lot of different ways.
Yes, I try to be.
But throwing a faker in there. I'm just telling you, you're working against yourself. I have never faked it. There's no reason to fake it, Rudy.
A little bit on this topic, Rudy, from the Hill, the judge in this case, their quote, the question, Nichols, the judge, flatly rejected Powell's assertion that her statements could not be defamatory because they were not statements of fact or otherwise were protected speech because they occurred during the rough and tumble of an election. The judge wrote, the question is whether a reasonable juror could conclude that Powell's statements expressed or implied a verifiably false fact about Dominion. This is not a close call. And he added, it is simply not the law that provably false statements cannot be actionable if made in the context of an election.
Dominic, being a heathen, when you're faking it, who do you owe God to?
Dom?
Oh, me.
Oh, my.
Me. Well, again, then why fake it? You're lying. You're faking. There's no good reason to fake.
If I believe it, is it true?
Truth isn't truth. Come back with us, the Wisconsin Elections Commission chair.
Let's find some truth.
She's Ann Jacobs. Let's get to the bottom of things. More Devil's Advocates.
I know what I saw.
Then yada, yada, yada.
Hi, it's Rudy Giuliani, and I'm on Cameo.
And nothing else matters.
That could be. It might be. It is. Devil Radio 92.7.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Hey, how's it going? Come down to 550 State Street. At Knuckleheads, we're your one-stop shop for all your CBD, glass, hookah, cigar needs. We got deals like buy 4, get 1 free on papers, cones, CBD carts. Too many things to list. Call 608-284-0151. Ask a friendly neighborhood knucklehead any questions. Or check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com. Knuckleheads at 550 State Street. We got you covered. I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
Afghanistan. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. The U.S. is sending some 3,000 troops to Kabul, Afghanistan to protect the airport and help evacuate Afghan civilians as the Taliban continues to make huge gains against Afghan government troops. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby.
These forces are being deployed to support the orderly and safe reduction of civilian personnel at the request of the State Department and to help facilitate an accelerated process of working through SIV applicants. This is a temporary mission with a narrow focus.
The decision to send the troops comes as the Taliban captures Afghanistan's third largest city and gains control over 2/3 of the country. The 2020 census finds declines in some states in the East and Midwest, senior demographer Mark Perry.
Most states in the West continue to be in the fastest growth category, but this is no longer true in the South. In that region, only 5 states and the District of Columbia were in the fastest growing category.
I'm Tim McGuire.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you
Hello.
will also know that I live with my mom. But the most
Welcome.
important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Hey, Ann, can you hear me?
Part of the 82%.
I can, yeah.
Awesome. And I can hear you. You sound and look
It's
great.
ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link.
Awesome.
is
Very excited. We got about
ZipRecruiter.com/free.
a minute
How
here.
much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Radio News.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Local municipalities across Wisconsin are scheduled to receive redistricting data from the U.S. Census Bureau today, more than 4 months later than expected due to delays in collecting the data during the COVID-19 pandemic. Because of the delays, local officials are now in a time crunch for turning around a new set of municipal maps the city and county will use for the next 10 years. The redistricting chair for the Dane County says the county's commission has plans to complete drafts of the new maps by the end of September. The Dane County Board of Supervisors plans to adopt a final set of maps at their November 18th meeting. Forecasts of partly to sunny skies throughout the day today with a chance for a straight thunderstorm possible. Winds up to 10 miles and a high today of 87 degrees. Partly cloudy skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 58 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, never personal, only politics.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Thursday to us all. Dominic, we've been joined live via Zoom by Ann Jacobs. She is the chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. And welcome back to the Devil's Advocates.
Hey, Ann.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Well, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, and I thought we established the truth just a few short days ago. But Ann, here we are again, and let's take another crack at it. First and foremost, audits. There are audits and threatened audits and forensic threatened audits and audits that have invalid subpoenas. So, Ann, let's start from the premise. The Legislative Audit Bureau here in the state of Wisconsin, that is the nonpartisan body. My understanding is they are doing an audit at the bequest of the legislature currently. Is that correct?
Correct. They were given a fairly extensive list of what was to be audited by the legislature, and they've been doing that for several months now.
And immediately after the fall election, there was a recount here in the state of Wisconsin, and the Trump campaign actually only requested the 2 predominantly Democratic counties, let's call them, Milwaukee and Dane, be recounted. And just for the sake of memory, Ann, how did the recounts go?
If I recall correctly, I think there was a swing of just a few hundred votes to President Biden's favor. We should also remind everybody that we also recounted in 2016, and that was a statewide recount that was requested by the Green Party. And in that case, President Trump gained 100 and I think 125, something like that, votes statewide. So this was not our first recount, and it went exactly as expected.
And when the prior recount upheld the Trump presidency, the Republicans and your colleagues on the Wisconsin Elections Commission, they were satisfied with the outcome of that recount?
Oh, absolutely. And there were no complaints about any of the rules that were in place for voting or anything like that. There are always conspiracy theories. There were conspiracy theories on the left at that time. But really, once it was done, it was done. And people accepted President Trump having won the election and moved on.
And I don't mean to be redundant, but Wisconsin has a very decentralized voting apparatus, like 1,850 districts. And so effectively to rig the election has been accused. It's mathematically implausible. You'd have to have 1,850 co-conspirators or something of the sort. So, Ann, can you speak to that topic just for a moment?
Sure. So this is what nobody's ever asking these people who are insisting votes were flipped or things were rigged, which was, where did it happen and how did it happen? Because there was a hearing this morning talking about ballots having fancy water seals and Mylar, I don't know, designs, whatever. When would we possibly be able to swap out ballots during the process? Like, when would these magical ballots come into being? Here's a short answer. They wouldn't. There's no way to insert 20,000 ballots into the balloting stream at any point in Wisconsin's elections. Let's think about computers. We audit the voting machines to make sure that they are accurately tallying votes. Again, when was this going to happen? How is it going to happen? Answer, it wasn't. What's the latest one I heard? Oh, people were going to get fake IDs and go to the polls and vote. Okay, anyone who's been under 21 in the state of Wisconsin knows that getting a fake ID is really not this easy thing. And there is not a bunch of people, 20,000 people getting fake IDs to go and vote, because that would be the dumbest thing ever. So these conspiracy theories just feed on themselves, and none of them make any sense, and they're all false.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Ann Jacobs, chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. And thanks for coming around once again. When we spoke recently, I don't think I brought it up. I want to do so now. One of my concerns, especially looking at some of the news reports here over the last 24, 48 hours, is for the health and safety of the elections officials and the volunteers and everyone that puts their time and effort and energy into go and make sure that elections are free and fair. And, you have volunteers and you have observers from both sides. And, in this process, where is it specifically breaking down? What are the accusations that something toward is happening here? I'm not clear what the specifics of these conspiracies are. Is there anything that we can point to direct us that perhaps somebody in a local ward was opening bags and feeding additional ballots? Well, there's cross checks that would find those kinds of things. Am I right in that?
Oh, absolutely. For every ballot, there is a registered voter, and those numbers have to match, and they do. And these threats of violence against our election workers are, they're really scary for the people involved, and rightfully so. These are elected people who's, they're municipal clerks. They also help collect your property taxes and do all these other things. They're not a part of some grand conspiracy of, dark money and George Soros. They are hardworking people who do their very best to administer elections. And here's a big problem with these threats. We are losing good people. We are losing people who understand these sometimes Byzantine rules of elections, because they don't want to deal with the risk to their families, the risk to themselves, and the constant sort of state of fear that they're in. And that's a real tragedy. We need to keep those people.
And Gableman, the former justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, apparently out in Arizona at least once or twice, also attending the cyber symposium put on by the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell, was quoted in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel as saying that the unelected bureaucrats of the Wisconsin Election Commission, of which you are the chair, and 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats, that the WEC, are stealing your votes. Literally, they work to steal your vote. And how do you counter something like that? This is the guy supposed to be heading up this quote unquote forensics audit as ordered by the Speaker of the Assembly.
I have no idea what to make of that. First of all, it shows a complete and total lack of understanding of what the Elections Commission does. He also said we were only an advisory board when we have all of these different statutory requirements that we have to do and submit to the legislature and submit to the clerks, and et cetera, et cetera. So clearly he has no idea what we do. But maybe he's found an attractive scapegoat in us. But remember, the Elections Commission is 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. And under law, nothing can happen without 4 votes. So when he's saying this, it includes his Republican colleagues, and nobody can articulate exactly what the Elections Commission did to supposedly steal your vote, because nobody did anything to steal your vote. You got to go vote, and then they got counted. And when you count votes, sometimes people win and sometimes people lose.
And we're both dying to ask you this question. One of your colleagues on the Wisconsin Elections Commission, Bob Spindell, also reportedly at the Cyber Symposium, just doing a little fact finding out there. So when Gableman makes this statement, and he's in attendance at the Cyber Symposium, he's talking about one of his co-attendees at the Conspiratorial Cyber Symposium. He is on the elections board literally with you. He's one of the represented Republicans.
Yep.
So,
isn't that something?
It is. And do you have anything to say to Mr. Spindell?
I wouldn't direct any comments directly to Bob. What I would say, though, is how disappointing it is that anyone from Wisconsin is treating either the Pillow Dudes crazy conspiracy seminar or the nonsense that went on in Arizona as either insightful or helpful or reality-based. None of that is the case. If you want to talk about election security, counting, and the like, come talk to the Elections Commission. We have amazing staff and they are happy to explain things to you. But the fact that former Justice Gableman decided to go to Crazy Pillow Guy's place instead of even coming to the Elections Commission at all is so disappointing. And it makes clear that this is not a serious effort. This is pandering to the worst elements of social media and the like, and that's disappointing.
Ann Jacobs, our fine guest, she is the chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. And Ann, during the course of last year's elections, went out to several polling places. Personally, I did. I went and observed, mostly as a journalist, but it was bland. It was pretty vanilla, and it was very similar in that I saw observers apparently of both parties, both Democratic observers and Republican observers. And they were right there when the poll books came out. There were people at a respectful but a close distance at each and every one of these polling places. So, and from a personal experience point of view, I went to Milwaukee, I went to Waukesha, I went to Middleton, I went to many different places around the state. Have you ever personally observed any issues or had any reported issues during recent elections on election day with chain of custody, with votes? Does anyone call in and complain to the Wisconsin Elections Commission? Man, I just saw them roll in with 20,000 votes and run them through the machine.
So the question is, do we get those calls? The answer is yes. Have we ever verified any of those kinds of calls? The answer is no. Most commonly what it is the people who are at the polls observing have no idea what they're seeing. Okay, so they see something and they think that's something out of the ordinary, or that's not allowed, or whatever, when in fact, sometimes it's just the most ordinary sort of thing. I'll give you an example. If you've got a busy ward, the machine, the tabulator, the thing you put the ballot into and it goes boop, boop, and it counts it, they'll get full. And you have to take the ballots out. So you open the door and you take the ballots out, you put them in your bags and you seal them and you put the notes and everything on it. We'll have people flip out that someone's touching the ballots. Well, that's an election worker whose job it is to do literally that thing. When I did Wisconsin Election Protection, which was a nonpartisan group that I was with for over a decade doing election observation, and then we did reporting and stuff. I remember we got a call from someone who swore that school buses were driving voters into a poll site near his house, and he called that in. He was very upset. It was a grade school. It was a polling location, and it was like 2:30 in the afternoon. So guess what those buses were there doing? They were picking up the kids. So yes, we get those calls, but no, we've never had anything where it wasn't a misunderstanding, or, look, sometimes poll workers make mistakes and we can fix them in real time. We can speak with the chief, be like, hey, you're doing that wrong. But no, never anything like, yeah, Bob just brought in a wheelbarrow full of ballots and threw them in the machine. No.
So, and for, let's say, the skeptics out there that might be listening to us or consider Domini partisans, how can you reassure them? I keep hearing these Republicans saying, we just want to reassure the electorate that their votes count, that this is a safe and fair process. And I thought it was, but how can you reassure people? How can they go research it themselves? You got a YouTube channel or something?
Actually, the Wisconsin State Elections Commission, elections.wi.gov, has a frequently asked questions section and an update of exactly those sort of questions, which is, how do I know these things? How do I know what's going on with ballots? How do I know that there's no bamboo? All that sort of stuff is actually on our website. Also, I would just encourage people who are like, it's sort of astonishing to me, it's like, oh, well, people are skeptical, so we should reassure them. It's like, look, you lit this house on fire. And then you're telling people like that now because of that we have to go put it out. The answer is if the people who were in leadership were honest and straightforward with the public and said, no, this was a fair election, it was properly counted, the ballots are there, they all reconciled, and we know this, I think it would go a long way. But I don't know that that's going to get them votes.
Ann Jacobs, chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, we appreciate you coming around again and helping us disprove the negative.
Happy to be here. I hope I don't have to come back so soon again.
Thank you.
We'll see, Ann. Appreciate you answering the call. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Hope you dial us up. We'll answer the call. 844-967-2789.
You good, guys? You're welcome. Bye.
Good luck. We're all counting on you.
I want to get back to being in my community group.
I want to continue having a soccer season.
So I can throw parties again.
So I can go to her parties.
It'd really be nice to dine in instead of getting delivery for a change.
So I can feel safe and protected for myself and my students.
We each have our own reason for why we're getting vaccinated against COVID-19. What will yours be? Visit getvaccineanswers.org for information on the COVID-19 vaccines. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
The Devil's Advocates.
Mike Lindell, my fellow guy, explains why God kicked Trump out of the White House.
Oh,
this is a spiritual battle of epic proportions.
What?
There's going to be so many people coming to Jesus. It is Devil Radio, man. Suck it, God, in this case. Please don't strike me dead with lightning, God. So, I'm just doing it for the show's sake. God.
Yeah, right.
Work with me on
That's
this.
all
one.
it is. You're hurting God right now, Trudy.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz on the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. We'll go to them in just a moment. Be patient at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I want to thank our most recent guest, the fine one, the chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Those tyrannical, partisan, cheater, rigger, fixer people.
Vote stealers, according to the former Justice Gableman and lead of this forensics audit ordered by the Assembly Speaker.
All things considered, she always seemed quite reasonable to me. And let's not forget, this is a partisan board of the Republican legislature's creation.
Yes.
And signed into law under Wisconsin's former governor, Scott Walker.
This is exactly how the Republicans wanted it.
The Republican, who of course was guilty of major campaign finance violations, very corrupted former governor here, at least in regards to campaign finance. And, so they got rid of the former organization, the Government Accountability Board, which was retired judges. They didn't like the unfairness of retired umpires calling balls and strikes. So they got rid of that.
Well, only when the balls and strikes go against you.
And they created an agency meant to deadlock, to get nothing done, kind of like the FEC.
Yes, absolutely.
So anyways, the fact that this very agency's had to publish statements of refuting of, I don't even know the words anymore. How do they have to clarify reality?
But one of their own, this guy, Bob Spindell from the Wisconsin Election Commission, out at the Cyber Symposium. And he was quoted today in the local paper saying, well, I just wanted to learn about vote fraud, vote hacking. I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, but you also have this other investigation going on by the nonpartisan Wisconsin State Legislative Audit Bureau. Are you hanging out with them?
Quickly from the Associated Press, former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman told the Associated Press on Thursday that both visits he's taken, to the Cyber Symposium and then Arizona last week.
Okay.
That both visits were about gathering facts for the investigation he's leading. I'm here out of an honest effort to find out if anyone has any information that will be helpful in carrying out my duties as special counsel, Gableman said as he walked from his hotel room to where the symposium was being held.
You couldn't call Lindell? You couldn't send a letter and say, hey, send me your data, send me what you got, and we'll take a look at it? Why are you going out there and being a part of this show? Oh, that's right, because it's all part of the show.
Dominic Gableman said his trip last week to Arizona, where the widely discredited election audit by cyber ninjas is being conducted, was to learn more about the allegations, the best practices to investigate those allegations, and what could be done differently.
Best practices. I mean, that Arizona fraud is being put on by cyber ninjas. They've never done this type of work ever in their entire existence.
Well,
why would you go to the rookie for best practices?
Why would you go to a former Supreme Court justice and make him the investigator? I learned a lot there that will be helpful to my investigation, according to Gableman. He said his trips were paid for out of his $11,000 monthly salary approved by Assembly Speaker Robin Foss when he hired Gableman to lead the investigation. Money well spent. The Lindell event was billed as presenting irrefutable proof that the Chinese-backed actors helped steal the 2020 election for Joe Biden. But the proof turned out to be illegitimate, the Post reported. I know that was earlier in the week reporting. Anyways, Gableman apparently went of his own volition on his own time.
So not twice to Arizona, once to Arizona and once to South Dakota.
The Cyber Symposium.
The Cyberposium.
Jeannie from Eau Claire, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hey, Jean.
Hi, guys. You know what? I mean, this guy is as crooked as all get out. Remember when, a bunch of votes came out of thin air on somebody's computer that they took home that was a
Kathy Nicholas. She was the Republican clerk of Waukesha County. And I believe, if I recall the history of the Supreme Court race between Prosser and Kloppenberg, she went home and she found 11,000 votes out of Brookfield. And what do you know? Prosser became our Supreme Court justice.
A miracle, a miracle. Oh, those Republicans are just I just can't believe them. Oh, they know everything. Oh, they make everything go their way and la, 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 la. It's just sickening, guys.
Well, Jane, but I want to be clear. I believe those votes that she found were actually votes that were uncounted to begin with. That there is human error in that regard. I don't think that there was any specific voter fraud in that particular case, at least alleged.
Jeannie, we're getting a little echo. Sorry to cut you short today, but I would point out Gableman had his own voting irregularities. He was charged with ethical violations in a Supreme Court race lying about his opponent, a sitting Supreme Court justice. And of course, the only court in the state of Wisconsin
it's during a
that had the
campaign.
credibility to, slap him on the wrist was the Wisconsin Supreme Court, where he's now a justice at that time. And they said, we're stalemated. We can't move forward because it's 3-3 and he's recused.
Hey, during the campaign, it's totally okay to throw a fake.
Throw a faker in there. 844-967-2789. Andy, you ever throw a faker in there?
Hey, Andy.
All the time, boys. Well, I got a couple quick comments. That dude over there in Campbellsport, isn't that where Glenn Grossman moved out of his mom's basement and went over there and, set up shop, and then he finally went to Glenbeulah? But, I don't know, with all due respect to Fond du Lac County, it's too bad about that. And then the other thing, I figured it out. Now, in 2045, whites will be in the minority. And Crudy would be 75 years old, and Dom would be the same age as I am, 74. So what I'm saying is you guys better get your kids busy and start producing to avoid this catastrophic issue with more people of color than there are whites. So, I mean, this is a major crisis we got coming up when you guys are old men like I am now. So, let's get on it,
Well, I think we're both done breeding.
Yes.
And as for our children, I'm hopeful to have grandkids, but I'm not convinced that they'll be white.
Not with the stats today, no.
The kids today and the census numbers. We're going to come back. We're going to talk census in the next hour. I hope you stick around for it. But the census numbers, they're turning against a white majority population.
So what?
I'm telling you, it's kind of been tough on some of the Republicans.
When are a rich white man going to catch a break?
I know it's hard being white.
Judging by the films I see, there's a lot of trying.
Come back with us. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates. Hope you stick around. Census means gerrymandering and, a lot of white pride.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
And nothing else matters.
Now I feel bad that I have to go, but it's supposed to be in Fond du Lac.
Fake.
At Chavs Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
This is Rocker. I'm sitting on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash, and I'm enjoying a floral forward Manhattan called As Long as There's Whiskey. It features Rocker Rye whiskey with a hint of blueberry, a touch of smoky Amaro, and it's finished off with St. Germain. It's a Rocker Rye Manhattan at Sal's Tomato Pies on Livingston. Ask for it by name, As Long as There's Whiskey. You can also enjoy Rocker Spirits at the Wisco and Tiny's Tap on Willie Street. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. 3,000 U.S. troops are being sent to Kabul to protect the airport and aid in the evacuation of Afghan civilians and others as the Taliban continues to make huge gains against the Afghan military. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby.
This is a very temporary mission for a very specific purpose. That's a big difference than saying you're deploying for 8, 9, 12 months, forces to stabilize and secure Afghanistan, which we've been doing for the last 20 years. This is a very narrowly defined, very temporary mission.
In the past week, the Taliban have taken 11 provincial capitals and now have control of over 2/3 of the country. Seth Jones, vice president at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, says the Afghan military has no will to fight.
Morale has been so decimated. The
support for the central Afghan government has been so weakened in areas that we've seen massive defections from Afghan national security forces.
The Census Bureau reports the nation's population continues to shift as it becomes more diverse. AP's Ben Thomas has more.
The 2020 census figures show continued migration to the south and west and population losses in the Mississippi Delta and Appalachia. But the Bureau's Mark Perry sees a shift in the patterns.
Most states in the West continue to be in the fastest growth category, but this is no longer true in the South. In that region, only 5 states and the District of Columbia were in the fastest growing category.
The numbers also indicate the white population of the U.S. is aging and has fallen to its smallest share of total population on record, while the nation's population under 18 is increasingly diverse. Overall, Perry says the last decade saw the second slowest population growth on record.
Only the 1930s had slower growth.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
Heading into the close, the Dow is flat. The NASDAQ is up 65. This is AP News.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/free. How much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
President Biden.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Read all about it.
Hey, what's going on? Oh, didn't you hear? Knuckleheads is moving locations, but not to worry. Knuckleheads will still be on State Street and your best shop for CBD and wellness. And it's going to be at 520 State Street on ground level, which is 100% handicap accessible. Stop by the new digs from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. any day of the week and get 15% off when you mention Devil Radio. I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there at our new location, 520 State Street.
Do you want Wisconsin to suck? I don't. That's why you're listening to me now. I'm Hawk, owner of the Atomic Koi. Come to the Koi and tell them you're there because the devil sent you. Then I can spend more money on ads and help Devil Radio keep Wisconsin from spiraling into post-apocalyptic Republican suckage. I mean, that's Iowa's job. Buy a round of the Atomic Koi and save Wisconsin one drink at a time.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
Okay.
This is Crudy, and I recommend calling Dave and the team at Community PC to solve all your computing needs. What do I call Community PC? Because I don't want to learn new things about tech, because I don't want to call the manufacturer's customer service line and waste half the day of my life, because I don't want to ask my kid for help and have him respond, okay, boomer. Just call Community PC at 608-268-7178 for their patient service. Just let Community PC fix it. 608-268-7178. Call today.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. for ideas, guests, and conversation on Devil Radio.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. A new report released this week by ProPublica shows U.S. Senator Ron Johnson pushed for an expanded tax cut that provided huge tax breaks for 2 of the senator's wealthiest donors. Senator Johnson was a holdout on the Republican-proposed 2017 tax cut until a tax break was included for pass-through entities. ProPublica reports that provision allowed for a tax break of $215 million in 2018 alone for 2 contributors to Johnson's re-election. Dick and Liz Uline, owners of Uline Packaging Company, and Diane Hendricks, owner of ABC Supply, contributed roughly $20 million to groups backing Senator Johnson's re-election campaign in 2016. After refusing to step down despite his term ending on May 1st, Fred Pren oversaw a Wisconsin Natural Resources Board meeting last night that set a 300 wolf quota for a fall wolf hunt. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, Big Thursday edition, Dom. We got some more guests coming up in the 4 o'clock happy hour, including our pal Batman and Jeff Mayer from Wispolitics. Been far too long.
Yeah, look forward to both of them.
So looking forward to that in the next hour. But this hour, Dom wanted to talk about the U.S. Census. And we're going to get to the importance of the U.S. Census in just a minute, Dom. But I want you in the audience, when we say the word census, I want you to think gerrymander. Gerrymander. Because that's what the census means. There are legislatures all across this state, all across this nation. They got their data and they've gone to work and they're brewing up some new maps.
Ooh, all right.
And the entire electoral landscape can change in 2022. And if done properly in enough Republican-led state houses, Nancy Pelosi is going to lose the speakership. The Democrats will lose the House of Representatives just through the simple act of gerrymandering. Even if the same number of people came out and voted in 2022 that voted Democrat in 2020, Republicans will have recast the maps and they will hold the electoral majority in the Congress.
Ooh, that sounds very terrible. Did Republicans have the majority of these state legislatures and certainly and perhaps not enough Democratic governors like we have in Wisconsin to veto such maps?
In the most important states like Texas, Greg Abbott, well, they've already got they already have to recast their congressional districts, but they're adding congressional seats and they get to recast congressional seats in the legislature and the state house controlled by Republicans. So expect a very gerrymandered Texas. Got a little too blue there for a while, Dom. Anyways, let's start by talking about the census. And the reason you got a gerrymander, Dom, is America ain't as white as it used to be.
Let's get right to the point, right?
Census shows U.S. growth driven by minorities. White population falls to under 60%. Dom, first time the white population in this nation has fallen since 1790.
Hang on a second. You say that, and that's a statistic. Do you find any other meaning in it? I don't. I mean, maybe I should. I'm not clear, but okay. So what?
Well, my impression.
Good. We have more multicultural. We have more people with different ideas. I'm down with that. I'm okay with that.
The thing that's so confounding about Fox News at times, at least in regards to immigration, now they want to blame the immigrants on coronavirus, the pandemic. It's all their fault. Why is Biden not vaccinating all the immigrants that come across the border? Whatever, Sean Hannity. But my greater point is we're kind of gentrifying. We, the white, the way it was here in the Americas, North America, America with a M. We're not as white as we used to be. But the white population that does exist is getting older and probably better off, but older. So you're not producing as many chitlins as you used to produce. You're not making as many kids. The quiver not as full for God as it used to be. Well, once upon a time, there were a lot of childhood illnesses. Pre-vaccine, Tom, a lot of kids used to die at quite young ages.
Sure. Yep.
So, you needed some spares, some spare heirs.
Free labor. Can't forget the free labor.
Well, in an agrarian society, that's very important. You need some strong backs to go work the fields. Less so now. Less so. But I am of the impression we need immigrant population. If you're not growing the population and you need to continue growing, hell, it's a truism in business. It's a truism in nations. Either you're growing or you're dying. And if we're going to put up these border walls, and I get it, got to control the borders. But Republicans, you understand how confounding this is. Your population's getting older. Actuarially speaking, they're dying. And you don't want to let anybody else in because you want to take your jobs. Well, you can't have it both ways. And our society constantly, and the census data now showing this to be the case, Tom, it's changing rapidly. And there's some white people that are very, very scared. The growth in American population over the last decade was driven entirely by minority communities. According to the new data released by the U.S. Census Bureau, as the number of white Americans declined for the first time since the nation's founding. Non-Hispanic whites make up just under 58% of the American population. Non-Hispanic whites. The first time since the census was first conducted, that they had fallen under 60% mark. By contrast, the 2000 census showed non-Hispanic whites made up just over 69% of the population. That fell to just under 64% in 2010. You see the trends, Don. I'm sure the Klan does. As part of the decrease comes as a result of new effort by the Census Bureau to measure the number of people who identify as multiracial, a population that skyrocketed over the last decade. But much of that drop in the white population, experts and demographers say, stems from an aging demographic that is producing fewer children later in life.
Crudy whites, no matter how you count them, declined since 2010, said William Frey, senior demographer at the Brookings Institution. Hispanic or Latin Americans have grown steadily to 62.1 million, or 18.7% of the population, up from 12.6% in 2000 and 16.4% since in the 2010 count. The vast majority of that increase, about 3/4, came from people in the United States who gave birth, while only 1/4 of the increase was due to new migrants entering the country, according to earlier estimates. Asian Americans grew faster than any other minority group in the last decade, up to 24 million, up about 20% since 2010. Most of the growth was from immigration, prior census data has shown. The U.S.'s population is much more multiracial and much more racially and ethnically diverse than we measured in the past, said Nicholas Jones, Director of Race, Ethnicity, and Outreach at the Census Bureau's Population Division. Overall, the United States is growing at nearly the slowest rate in the nation's history. The country's population grew by 7.4% in the last decade, a slower rate than any decade since the 1930s. More people died than were born in more than half of American counties over the last decade. And while rural areas were more likely to suffer natural decreases, urban areas experienced declines too. Mark Perry, a senior demographer at the Census Bureau's Population Division, said 52% of counties ended the decade with lower populations than they had in 2010. And counties with populations under 50,000 all lost population on average, according to the census data. And counties with populations over 100,000 gained 9.1% as more Americans flocked to metropolitan areas and their nearby suburbs.
Sounds like Dane County, where I live, where all the population growth, nearly half the population growth in the entire state of Wisconsin's happened for the last decade. One county.
And Crudy, the point here, as
older,
the Hill
whiter,
states,
and deader.
The data, delayed in part by the pandemic and by the Trump administration's effort to end the count early, is the most comprehensive look at the characteristics of the American population released to date. And it will be used by state and local governments to redraw political boundaries in the decennial redistricting process and by governments at all levels to administer programs and distribute billions in federal, state, and local funding over the next decade.
Well, I don't know precisely how they do it in other places, Dom, but Republicans won a wave election in the state of Wisconsin in 2010. That's when Scott Walker won. That's when your buddy Ron Johnson became a U.S. Senator. And that is when the legislative majorities fell to the Republicans. And they promptly locked those legislative majorities in for a decade through the most partisan gerrymander, perhaps in our nation's history. And they pulled it off right here in the state of Wisconsin. And that, I would say, Dom, is precisely what they would intend to do again. Now, it's going to be a little more difficult. You got a Democratic governor. He's going to veto the maps. But you also have a conservative-controlled Wisconsin Supreme Court, and you got a lot of questions. And I'm telling you what, man, the next matter of months are going to be dominated by the warfare behind closed doors over the redrawing of these maps. And it's going to suck a lot of the life out of the political wins, because everybody running for anything other than a statewide office next year, they don't know what their district's going to look like.
Right.
And a lot of them, at least the Republicans currently in power, they want to have some say over whether or not they're going to be incumbents for the next decade. So there's going to be a lot of infighting, and there's going to be a lot of behind closed doors. And as soon as the maps start dropping, there's going to be
lawsuits. Yep. You know, that's
lots
coming.
of lawsuits.
Yep.
And Republicans, they've got the finest attorneys the taxpayer money can buy. Partisan attorneys. They've already hired them. And then they had to go to court to defend their right to hire attorneys before a lawsuit even drops.
Here in the state of Wisconsin, yes.
But 10 years ago, they did it behind closed doors. All the Republicans that were shown the maps were done so individually. You can see your district, but not the overall effect on the broader electoral map. And you got to sign an NDA.
A non-disclosure.
As
an elected official looking at your own district.
That is my understanding, Don.
That seems a little strange.
And what Republican, what lawmaker wouldn't want a map that favors them just a little bit more than used to? Well, you know, it's because I've turned my constituents just a little more red or a little more blue.
Better candidates, better ideas.
That's what they claim. And even if they don't win, you know, the majority of the votes in the state of Wisconsin, Republicans currently control just less than 2/3 of all legislative seats. But they haven't won a statewide election since what? 2012, 14? Scott Walker won re-election in 14. I guess Rojo won re-election in 16. And the Democrats have held serve since, at least on a statewide basis. Come back, more devils.
Hey, where are the white women at?
Oh, God.
Suburban women, will you please like me?
Bobby, I'm your white knight.
The Devil's Advocates.
There are lots of people that haven't made up their mind on this race. And you think, how could that be? No, there are. There are a lot of people that could still make a decision all the way on election day down.
Undecided voters are the biggest idiots on the planet. Try giving short, simple answers.
Like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Yosemites.
Because freedom.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
I'm not down for voter suppression in my
No,
state.
right. This. It's got to be easy. It was great to have these options. We should have these options. We should have days off for people to go vote. We should expand the availability, the ease of our own citizens in this country to participate in self-governance. Republicans, why are you so opposed to that?
Because they lose those elections.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open. We'll get to you shortly at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, the broader point, the battle has just begun. When the census data drops, and it's like 4 months late, and next year is an election year, and we're going to recast all across the state, every congressional boundary in the nation recast, and Republicans have enough control of enough state houses and enough legislators, they could turn the electoral map. They could win the House of Representatives and not get a single additional vote.
If the same votes were cast last time around, with the same amount of people in the same manner, they would work those maps and massage those maps to the point where they would actually win majority in the House.
Texas, Georgia, Florida, those 3 states, very important. There's at least one more, but those 3 are crucial states to building more Republican favoring congressional seats into the mix. Bake in the gerrymander into the cake. Don.
Another 10 years, man. I mean, what's worse that could happen? Crudy, you brought this one to my attention. The plumb line at the Washington Post, an opinion piece, the GOP strategy for retaking power is about to take an ugly new turn, because it's not been ugly at all for the last couple of years, huh? Greg Sargent writes, it is a brutal reality about this political moment that Republicans can capture the House while dwelling almost exclusively in the safe confines of their alternate information universe. In this hermetically sealed off place, Republicans can continue deifying former President Donald Trump, even as evidence mounts of his naked plot to steal the last election. They can oppose an accounting into the worst outbreak of political violence in recent U.S. history, despite their deep implication in it. They can dismiss broadly popular economic policies as socialism while withdrawing from the conversation entirely about how they would address our deepest challenges. They can actively campaign against mask mandates, despite their overwhelming public support, while boasting straight-facedly that this is a good strategy. The key reason for this state of affairs will become clearer on Thursday when the gerrymandering wars kick off in earnest. The release of new census data will set off a scramble of state legislatures redrawing congressional and state legislative district lines, setting the political playing field for 2022. It has been widely established that Republicans can recapture the House on the strength of extreme gerrymanders alone. They need to net 5 seats, and those could be added based solely on redrawn district lines. Indeed, Samuel Wang, the director of the Princeton Gerrymandering Project, has concluded that if Republicans successfully gerrymander, they can win the House if the 2022 national popular vote rivals the 2020 Democratic edge of 3 points. 3 points. Meanwhile, a study by the Democratic data firm TargetSmart concluded that Republicans could add anywhere from 6 to 13 seats based on redrawn maps in just 4 states. And he mentioned this, Crudy: Texas, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. And the Brennan Center for Justice has also concluded that redrawn lines in those 4 states could determine House control. A Brennan Center study highlights the perfect storm of factors. Republicans control all 4 of those state legislatures. Recent Supreme Court rulings hobbling federal preclearance over voting changes and placing partisan gerrymanders beyond court supervision removed key guardrails. Crudy, I think that one came down last week as well. Meanwhile, as Ronald Brownstein notes, population growth, increasing diversification, and growing minority vote share in southern states is boosting GOP incentives to double down on anti-majoritarian tactics to hold back the demographic tide. We went over some of those numbers recently. Even Republicans themselves gush that they can recapture the House via gerrymanders. Rep. Ronnie Jackson recently enthused that GOP control of most redistricting across the country alone should get us the majority back, Rudy.
If Jackson, if Jackson understood this as an admission that Republicans must rig the playing field, his glaringly anti-majoritarian ways to be competitive, it certainly didn't seem to trouble him. He openly boasted about this as a sign of Republican strength. The news is not all terrible for Democrats, as the New York Times summarizes. A bit of an inset here, Dom. Political maps are already extremely gerrymandered, making it difficult to increase their partisan tilts. Some states that drew extensively gerrymandered maps, including Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, now have divided government. Others, like Michigan, have adopted independent redistricting commissions. Democratic governors in some states can veto bad GOP-drawn maps. Looking at you, Tony Evers, Democrats are already vowing to contest GOP gerrymanders in state courts, and a few Democratic states can fight the tide of gerrymandering themselves. But that will force a tough choice between honoring the party's committed opposition to anti-majoritarian tactics and avoiding unilateral disarmament against the enthusiastic GOP embrace of tactics in a fundamentally national war. None of this relieves Democrats of the responsibility for 2022. They lost a number of seats in 2020, and there are real questions about whether they are too complacent that big policy wins alone can hold the House. They must also effectively prosecute the case against GOP radicalization. But ultimately, all of this isn't just about partisan advantage. It's also about the counter-majoritarian fate that Democrats will consign the country to if they refuse to end the filibuster to pass the package of democracy protections, including an end to extreme gerrymandering via independent redistricting commissions. Now, this article, it goes on, Dom. I'm not going to have time to read it all, but here's the conclusion. We need more.
Let me jump in here. Sure. I got it, man. The fact that Republicans can recapture the House via extreme gerrymanders alone and the enthusiastic embrace of other anti-majoritarian tactics help enable both the GOP's toxic midterm strategy and the party's near total withdrawal from the mainstream conversation and all the ugliness and destruction that will come with them.
So, census bad? Redistricting, we're hoping, will be an improvement here in the state of Wisconsin. Can't get
much worse, right?
But it's certainly going to be a battle, and it's going to suck all the wind out of the political sails for months. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Your phone calls are next. I promise, Mark, you'll be first at 844-967-2789.
I will do anything it takes to win. I love being governor. You know, they can go suck lemons.
In time, you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7. It is your destiny.
The Devil's Advocates are taking the political party back to State Street, to Madison's party destination, Hawks Bar and Grill. Tuesday, August 24th, the Devil's Advocates broadcast live from Hawks 2 to 5 p.m. And then the Summer Lovin' Party really begins. And you're going to want to get your share. Inferior radio shows would be exhausted after this many parties. But the Devil's Advocates have prayed our whole lives for this. We were built for Summer Lovin'. Come to Hawks Bar and Grill. Tuesday, August 24th, party with the Devil's Advocates and get your Summer Lovin' on.
This is Rocker. I'm sitting on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash, and I'm enjoying a floral-forward Manhattan called As Long as There's Whiskey. It features Rocker Rye whiskey with a hint of blueberry, a touch of smoky Amaro, and it's finished off with St. Germain. It's a Rocker Rye Manhattan at Sal's Tomato Pies on Livingston. Ask for it by name, As Long as There's Whiskey. You can also enjoy Rocker Spirits at the Wisco and Tiny's Tap on Willie Street. You must be 21. Please drink.
I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. A week from tomorrow, people entering many businesses in San Francisco will have to prove they've been vaccinated against the coronavirus. Mayor London Breed telling KGO.
Bars, restaurants, clubs,
theaters, entertainment venues, indoor gyms and fitness, and large indoor events with more than 1,000 people.
The businesses have 2 months to get all their workers vaccinated. Arizona reports nearly 3,000 coronavirus cases today, the state's highest single-day count in 6 months. Mississippi is reporting its second straight record number of daily cases, 4,400 people today, more than 1,000 more than yesterday's 3,400 cases. Arizona, with 7 million people, has more than twice the population as Mississippi, which has fewer than 3 million people. U.S. Open qualifying matches, which start on the 30th, will be closed to spectators because of the pandemic. I'm Tim McGuire.
According to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/free. How much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Wednesday, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services announced hospitalizations in the state have increased 600% over the past month alone, with a current 7-day rolling average of 435. In mid-July, Wisconsin was experiencing a 7-day hospitalization average of 79. The state reported 1,316 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday, the highest daily total since February 3rd. As of last night, nearly 100,000 WE Energy customers remained without power due to storms that swept across the state on Tuesday evening. The president of WE Energies is asking for patience, saying it will take days to completely restore power. Forecasts of partly cloudy to sunny skies throughout the day today, with a chance for a stray thunderstorm possible. Winds up to 10 miles an hour and a high today of 87 degrees. Partly cloudy skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 58 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's Thursday, at least I think it is.
I think you're right.
Friday Eve. You working on a Friday this week, though?
I am, actually. I believe I will be in tomorrow. Lucky man.
I'm going to circle that day on the calendar.
Like, I got to come here, man. I'm not going to miss the historical day that Donald Trump is raised back into the White House and becomes president of the United States once again with a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, according to, the Savior's right-hand man, Mike Lindell, the pillow guy.
Well, I didn't think the cyber symposium was going quite as anticipated or hoped for. A few dreams being dashed on the rocks of the cyber symposium.
Yeah, but they had some good discounts for the pillows, though.
So we hear 844-967-2789. Always love when our audience participates. Mark from the SAC, welcome back. What do you got?
Hey, Mark.
Well, you were talking about faking it. I'd say Republicans are probably used to the faking it thing from their partners.
Well, their wives are.
But they don't care anyway. So, I mean, they even care if the wives are faking it. And for, but Spellman, Gableman, and Rantham.
Bob Spindell.
Bob Spindell. I hope for those guys' sake they're not shooting their mouths off and talking about Dominion, because if I was Dominion's attorney, I'd be carefully listening to everything that every one of these nitwits is saying. And if they pop off their mouths too loudly, I'd slap them with a lawsuit as well. I mean, and Gableman has proved now that he is not a disinterested party by the statements he's made and his attendance at these events, because there's no experts at these events. What is it? What QAnon or OAnon?
But you discount Rantham. Rantham is one of the speakers, and as I saw it reported, Mark, he indeed talked about the Dominion and the fact that they're going to wipe the presidential elections with the Dominion software. So that seems a little defamatory.
Yeah, it really does. Mark, you bring up a good point. You got to imagine, the Dominion folks they're following these things, right? I mean, they're laying down lawsuits left.
There
and
is
right.
a live stream.
I mean, come on.
And I would, and Mr. Rantham, I would hope that he's going to get his pants to he's not even left with his trousers on. I mean that.
Well, yeah.
That I want to see him without his trousers.
I hope so as well, Mark. But you know how these Republicans are. They get themselves into some shenanigans, and they'll be like, "Oh, I was acting as a state legislator, so I'm going to have the state of Wisconsin defend my defamatory statements about the voting machines." He's going to try to do it if that were to happen. Thanks for the call, man. I mean, these Republicans, come on.
Dominic, headline for our friends listening on AM 950. This one originally reported by the Daily Beast. Another Republican has been arrested under suspicion of underage sex trafficking. According to the Daily Beast, wealthy Minnesota GOP strategist Anton Lazario was arrested in Minneapolis Thursday morning, the FBI confirmed. Lazario, who appeared on Fox News and was known for showing off his wealthy and lavish lifestyle on social media, was indicted on 5 counts of sex trafficking of a minor and 3 counts of obstruction of justice. U.S. Magistrate Judge Becky R. Thorson ordered that Lazario remain jailed until a court hearing next week. So bound over without bail, Dom, after prosecutors claimed 6 victims had asked for additional protection from Lazario. It's their strong wish that the United States proceed with the recommendation of detention, Judge Thorson said, referring to the request of the survivors. And the court documents say that Lazario is accused of recruiting at least 5 underage victims for paid sex between May and December of 2020. Guess Matt Gaetz was coming to town. And attempting to recruit a 6th, the indictment said he then knowingly and intentionally interfered with the FBI's investigation as he became aware of it. The indictment accuses Lazario of having recruited at least 5 underage victims for paid sex between May and December last year and trying to entice a 6th. It also says he's knowingly and intentionally interfered. I think that's a little redundant, Dom. Lazario would appear on Fox to promote former President Donald Trump and other GOP officials. He's been photographed with Trump, Pence, Marco Rubio, and former Governor Bobby Jindal. I bet there's one of him and Scott Walker out there somewhere, Dom. This is the 2nd Republican in the last year to be involved in such a scandal. Former GOP tax collector Joel Greenberg pled guilty to trafficking a minor along with other charges. He was one of the friends to Rep. Matt Gaetz, part of the inner circle, Dom. Star Tribune contributed to that reporting, Dom. They also said, according to the Star Tribune in Minneapolis, Lazario, big supporter of Donald Trump. Kind of like Gaetz.
Lazaro. And this guy's from Minnesota?
Yes. GOP strategist.
As the Daily Beast sticks up on their page, the party of family values. Just ask Matt Gaetz or Donald Trump.
Do you see some of the new Greenberg communications that were being reported overnight? Setting up his buddy for some good times.
Oh, with the Florida guy?
Some loose women being paid. What's I forget what he said. What's the
for school?
No,
college?
it was about as subtle. What's the cost for the evening going to be? Effectively, he was asking. And by the way, can you guys get any Molly?
I mean, that's a one-stop shop, baby.
And then he referenced Matt Gaetz, Congressman Matt Gaetz, by name, and asked the one girl if she had a friend for the congressman. And the woman apparently responded, "Yeah, my friend thinks he's cute."
Wow.
Cute and slimy. Bet she still charged him.
844-967-2789.
$400 for a meetup.
$400? That's actually kind of cheap, isn't it?
You tell me.
You can get 2 Rudy Giuliani messages for that.
Wisco Paul, we can get you for free, my friend.
Yeah,
Welcome,
but
Paul. What do you got for us?
The problem with Horace and Rudy Giuliani, they're faking it, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Oh my God. Hey, you guys make me laugh. Good afternoon, Devils. Hey, seeing the Winkers put up the voting in this state, shouldn't Gableman be calling him in to question him? What'd you do wrong? I mean, I think Boss was involved in that, Fitzgerald, and I've said this before. So Winkers should be under investigation by the Republicans, correct, for what he did wrong?
I mean, I don't know about that, Wisco. I appreciate the sentiment, but Les, obviously, this, as mentioned, this situation was created by the Republicans in state legislature, signed off by a Republican governor. You got what you asked for. And now you think it's a problem. And when you worked the same system on the last election, when Trump won, you were fine with that, right? You were totally fine with that. And all of a sudden there's this big problem.
Well, I was just trying to make a point that they set up this whole system and there's nothing wrong with it. It's been investigated. And I quite frankly am sick of these people, these ninja people. Who in the hell these people are, I don't know. But
well, you don't know because they're ninjas.
I mean, if you knew the ninja's name, that would take away the whole secretiveness of it.
Oh, for God's sake! Hey, I'll just leave you with this. What's the chances with the gerrymandered districts of us getting anything done that might help us? Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Paul. Slim to none. I mean, maybe it'll work out a little better for us, and maybe we'll get some independents or some new engaged voters who perhaps don't like what they're being told or what they're seeing from the conservative/Republican side. I mean, how can you I'm not clear what the motivation or draw is to that party at this time. I mean, at one point you could say the family values. Okay, that's not right. You could say fiscal conservatism. Nope, that's not there. I mean, certainly not when it's a Republican in the White House. So anti-abortion, I guess forced government birthing. Yeah, they're down for forced government birthing, but that's about the only thing that they still are consistent on. So, perhaps there is some opportunity for progressives and for Democrats, moderates and progressives to get some independence, go get those young kids, get them out, get them motivated. But redistricting, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a problem. There's going to be lots and lots of lawsuits.
You know what I'm trying to verify yesterday in the, what was the reporting where Ron Johnson, the senator from the great state of Wisconsin, they talked about his conduct, passing through some tax savings for some donors, but in that ProPublica piece, they also talked about his relationship with Ted Kellner. And our boy, our pal, Pete, Wisco Paul, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. That's never very successful for me. But I want to tie together the name Ted Kellner, who was listed in the ProPublica piece. And I don't want to get it wrong, but I think if one, let's just say, Google Scott Walker and Ted Kellner and Big Blue, that was the office building downtown, right?
Oh, downtown Milwaukee that they're trying to do get a side deal on some real estate.
Yes. The impetus perhaps behind what should have been criminal charges against Scott Walker.
The John Doe investigation?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Scott Walker, in a roundabout way, was involved in the ProPublica yesterday through his association with Ted Kellner. But, far be it for me to rely upon my memory. If I've got it wrong and you weren't as corrupted as I'm accusing you of being, Scott Walker, I would apologize. But of course, I know my memory's pretty good.
Crudy from the USA Today Network, the Wisconsin editorial board, throwing this one out. Nobody's senator, but theirs. Ron Johnson's backroom dealing shows who he's working for. It's not you. And they write. A blockbuster scoop by ProPublica on Wednesday makes crystal clear who Ron Johnson represents. He is the senator for the ultra-wealthy. The expose details how Wisconsin's Republican senator ensured that his wealthiest donors made out like bandits in the massive 2017 tax bill that GOP leaders marketed as a middle-class tax cut. Thanks to Johnson's demands, it wound up delivering a huge portion of its billions of savings to just 82 of America's wealthiest families. And the senator's top donors, billionaires Diane Hendricks and Dick and Liz Uihlein, were with Michael Bloomberg at the very top of a short list of those who gained the most. Though he tried to defend himself on Wednesday, Johnson's secret closed-door maneuvering on the tax bill is one of the reasons he's unfit to represent Wisconsin citizens. The sooner he's removed from office, the better for our democratic republic. In 2017, as President, Donald Trump's administration was rushing to get the massive tax cut through Congress. Johnson surprised the president of the Republican by saying he'd vote no. We've talked about this at length yesterday when we discussed the ProPublica piece. And I guess here's to your point, Crody. Johnson also carried water for real estate developers after another of his donors, Milwaukee businessman Ted Kellner, complained that developers like himself wouldn't get a big enough tax break from the bill. Johnson forwarded Kellner's letter to Kevin Brady, a Texas Republican who chaired the House Ways and Means Committee. And in the final version of the bill, developers got the same generous tax break. Johnson's deal-making showered eye-popping benefits on his two biggest donors, Hendricks, who owns ABC Supply, and Uline's Schlitz Brewing Heirs, who own the Uline Packaging Company in Pleasant Prairie. We talked about the number 215 million combined between both those people both those groups, families, in 2018 alone. Of that, Johnson's intervention saved the Uline's $43.5 million in 2018, and Hendricks about $36 million. The donors could reap more than $500 million in tax savings from the changes over the course of the tax cuts' 8-year lifespan. Again, this looks like an editorial at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Johnson has never made a secret that he supports big businesses and the wealthy. Still, the audacious nature of the secret deal-making outlined by ProPublica is breathtaking.
All I find about Ted Kellner, and I don't want to overstate the association, he loaned Scott Walker his private jet, in-kind contributions. It's a Challenger 601, and Kellner gave about $1 million to the Republican Party and GOP candidates here in the state of Wisconsin. But until I can verify that he was specifically implicated, but no charges filed, I guess I'll back off my prior statement.
You can join us with your statements, 844-967-2789. More Devil's Advocates. We'll be right back.
I don't feel like my time here has been particularly successful.
Give me a break.
Hey, one break coming up.
Did I break wind?
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit stoptextsstopwrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
Hi, this is Don from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
The tear gas changed the crowd's demeanor. There was an air of disbelief as people realized that the police whom they supported were firing on them. "What are you doing? We support you," someone yelled. All of a sudden, pro-police people felt the police were attacking them, and they didn't know why. The pro-police crowd went from disbelief and confusion to anger.
The police instigated the crowd, right? The police were the oppressors here. So, Ron, Black Lives Matter?
I don't know. but I'm suspicious.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
I remember when I lost my mind.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. You got to take today, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we got former U.S. Attorney, our good friend James Santel, joining us on tomorrow's show. But I wish he was here because there's speculation afoot. The DOJ is going to have to indict Donald Trump.
Well, why do you say that?
He forced their hand. It's not just me saying it. It's legal experts, according to a story I found.
Hey, you're a legal expert. You've been to court
several times. Many, not as much as Donald Trump, but I have utilized the courts as both plaintiff and defendant. Dominic, according to the Raw story, this one recapitulated by Roxanne Cooper. I'll read. Legal experts are weighing in on Wednesday evening's bombshell report in the New York Times that the U.S. attorney in Atlanta resigned on January 4th rather than be fired by then President Donald Trump. Did you hear about this, Tom?
Mm-hmm.
For refusing to say the election was rigged and there had been massive voter fraud, which Trump had been falsely claiming. Trump had appointed Byung Pak to the U.S. attorney in mid-2017. Hours after top DOJ, Department of Justice officials, either warned or pressured him or both on January 3rd that he would be fired, Pak sent his letter of resignation to the president on Wednesday. That'd be last Wednesday, Dom. He told the Senate Judiciary Committee what had happened. DOJ has no choice now. They must open a criminal investigation on Trump's attorney, Ron Filipowski, a former Republican turned Democrat after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis infamously fired a health department data analyst.
Curdy, that testimony from PJ Pak was yesterday.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
So we now know that the U.S. attorney was being pressured in Georgia to declare what? The results of the presidential election invalid, declare massive voter fraud.
To lie.
And he resigned over it. So we now know that Trump was pressuring people at the Department of Justice.
Yes.
He was pressuring the U.S. attorneys.
Yes.
He was pressuring the Secretary of State. He was pressuring the governor
the
of
election
Georgia.
officials, the governor. Yes.
So when do the criminal indictments come? When you basically threaten to fire a U.S. attorney if he won't go out there and commit or propagate your fraud, that's getting pretty ugly. I mean, I know we've said a couple times, this is worse than Watergate, but this...
No, it's way worse than
It
Watergate.
is way worse than
Yes.
Watergate.
Yes. And this is just in one state in one instance. And these kinds of calls and pressure tactics were not applied to just, those particular officials. And in some regards, you could probably say that the effort was received much more positively than BJ Pak in Atlanta. Right. So Republicans, or perhaps in Pennsylvania, certainly Wisconsin, people reacted to it. Obviously, Arizona. Right. Trump was calling all sorts of people.
Presidents can fire U.S. attorneys for any reason or no reason at all, according to Harry Litman, but not clear they can do it for an unconstitutional reason, such as based on belief or even worse, based on refusal to tell a lie. So, kind of like we're in employment at will state here in the state of Wisconsin. I can fire you, just cause, Dom, but I cannot be discriminatory against you. Let's say because you won't lie on behalf of the corporation or lie on behalf of the nation, on behalf of the president. To fire a guy or threaten to fire a guy because he won't lie for you, he won't perpetrate a fraud.
Yeah, but you're talking about it also.
That might seem like an unconstitutional justification.
This is a U.S. attorney, though. They also have, perhaps greater responsibility than, radio hosts or producers. You know what I'm saying? If you're asking a U.S. attorney to go out and tell a blatant lie, I'm pretty sure that goes against everything that they have sworn to uphold. But my question, and I remember again, because we lived through all this and we're living through the repercussions of these things now. And I remember, wow, why'd that guy step down when it happened? And we all assumed at the time, well, there's some pressure coming from DC, this Trump administration. They're pulling out all the stops. We knew it then. Now we're getting some details about it now. But you make a great point, and perhaps some of these legal experts, and we'll get Santel's opinion on tomorrow. But yeah, I hope there's some activity going on at the Department of Justice. I very much look forward to Merrick Garland week when he rolls out all the indictments.
Well, Dominic, another story nearly as important. It's about exploding birds. Rep. Louis Gohmert, Republican from Texas, on Thursday warned of the many dangers in passing the bipartisan Senate infrastructure bill, including funding solar power plants that will purportedly cause an epidemic of exploding birds. Between the cancer-causing windmills and the solar panels, Tom, it's getting tough out there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to stick to that safe and reliable oil.
You know where he made that claim, Dom? In a recent interview with the far-right One American News. They're being sued by Dominion for defamation, right, Dom?
They certainly are, along with Newsmax and some of their hosts.
Gohmert outlined his objections to the infrastructure plan before uncorking an angry rant about solar farms in particular. Another part of that Green New Deal is the huge solar farm that they have out on the border of California and Nevada. He said thousands of acres of concave mirrors that magnify the sun towards 3 towers that heat up the liquid in there and turn turbines. He then decried the supposed negative impact that this plan has on local bird populations. They weren't anticipating hundreds and thousands of what they call flamers, he said, because when the birds fly through, if they can survive the windmills, he literally said it. Then they hit that magnified sun, explode into flame, down they go. Bird guts all over the mirrors. So that takes some cleaning up. Gohmert then said that this supposed wave of bird explosions proved that this green stuff is out of control.
The green stuff, the Green New Deal, like trying to proportion our energy usage to renewable and less toxic ways and than digging and burning the ground beneath our feet. Yeah, that's the problem.
I think Louis had the really good green stuff backstage.
Maybe stay away from the brown acid.
And I hear to be very careful of the brownies.
The homemade ones, they're the best.
They are the best. You share them with Louis. Have some drugs, Louis. Folks, that was the Devil's Advocates National Show. Got some fine local Wisconsin guest in the happier 4:00 happy hour. Jeff Mayers from Wispolitics and our buddy Batman from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Stick around. Unless you're listening on AM 950, then your options are limited, but excellent, because Matt McNeil will be next. The rest of you, more Devil's Advocates.
I alone can fix it.
And nothing else matters.
Nobody did what I've done.
Chad's Design Build is proud to sponsor the Summer of Love on Devil Radio. We are committed to our community to demand better for each and every person. Doing the right thing isn't necessarily easy or inexpensive, but when we take the time to listen and learn, we can build a better community. Thoughtful remodeling is a lot like building an effective, progressive coalition. It takes patience, intelligence, and love. Experience helps too. Thank you, Joe Biden, and thank you, Devil Radio. On behalf of Chad's Design Build, here's to the Summer of Love.
You feeling stressed or anxious, trying to figure out this new world? Maybe just feeling sore after all that summer yard work? You should come try Knuckleheads. With a new location at 520 State Street, Knuckleheads has the best CBD and wellness products Madison has to offer. Come talk to a friendly neighborhood knucklehead today and see if CBD works for you. You can call the shop at 608-284-0151 or check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com, with any questions. And I'm Lando Commando, and I'll see you there at our new location, 520 State Street. Yeah!
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. The U.S. sending troops to help in the evacuation of embassy workers as the Taliban makes startling gains in Afghanistan. Sagar Meghani has more.
The Pentagon is sending 3 infantry battalions to Hamid Karzai International Airport.
Approximately 3,000 personnel.
Whom spokesman John Kirby says will arrive in the next 2 days to help with the partial evacuation. The announcement comes as the Taliban continue a stunningly fast offensive weeks before the U.S. military pullout ends. The militants have now seized nearly a third of Afghanistan's 34 provincial capitals, including its third biggest city. The embassy pullout and security boost suggest the Biden administration is not confident Afghan forces can secure the national capital. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The Census Bureau releases data from the 2020 census, which shows the nation's slowest growth rate since the 1930s, as the country becomes more urban and diverse. Here's the AP's Ben Thomas.
The figures show continued migration to the south and west and population losses in the Mississippi Delta and Appalachia. The numbers also indicate that the white population is aging and has fallen to its smallest share of the total population on record, while the U.S. population under 18 is increasingly diverse.
Information released today will also be used by the states to redraw both congressional and state legislative districts. The number of coronavirus cases continues to grow across the country as more people, especially those in the hardest hit areas, are finally getting vaccinated. Coronavirus coordinator Jeff Zients.
For the first time since mid-June, we're averaging about 500,000 people getting newly vaccinated each and every day. And overall in the last week, 3.3 million Americans rolled up their sleeve to get their first shot.
This is AP News.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/free. How much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
President Biden.
Yeah, it's piracy. So many product prices are jacked up so high because of shortages. Piracy, I tell you, matey.
So keep your sights on Crazy Lenny's e-bikes. They have the low price reputation.
Low prices. We saw this coming 10 months ago. We started buying more bikes, 100 bike containers, so we could keep our low price image.
Shiver me timber. Give us an example.
E-bikes with 40-mile range, with disc brakes, with torque controller. Retail $1,900. Nope, not at my store. Just $844.
$1,900 bike for $844. That is crazy.
Aye, matey. And we have 150 electric bikes on display on our show.
$844 for quality e-bikes at Crazy Lenny's e-bike.
My store. I mean, my ship.
Raise the plank and hoist the sails. Set our course for Crazy Lenny's bosun.
Crazy Lenny's e-bikes are down the road.
This is Crudy, and I recommend calling Dave and the team at Community PC to solve all your computing needs. What do I call Community PC? Because I don't want to learn new things about tech. Because I don't want to call the manufacturer's customer service line and waste half the day of my life. Because I don't want to ask my kid for help and have him respond, okay, boomer. Just call Community PC at 608-268-7178 for their patient service. Just let Community PC fix it. 608-268-7178. Call today. So, Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Are all real estate brokers tree huggers?
Crew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yep, I even walk to work.
Come on, always?
Well, sometimes I bike. And if I have an appointment across town, I use my hybrid.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Find them online at solidarityrealty.com. There is an alternative.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. UW Health will be participating in a clinical trial of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for children under the age of 12. A UW Health representative believes the trial will enroll roughly 80 participants here in Madison as a part of a study of nearly 12,000 children across the country. Republican lawmakers held an 8-hour hearing at the Capitol yesterday on bills that would limit discussions of racism and sexism in Wisconsin's public schools in an effort to stop critical race theory being taught. During the lengthy hearing, Republicans could not provide an example of school districts teaching critical race theory in Wisconsin. Republicans stressed the bills in the hearing would provide transparency for parents to know what is being taught within their school districts. You're listening to Double Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the Thursday 4 o'clock happy hour. And I'm happy to announce we got a fine guest live via phone. He is Jeff Mayers from Wispolitics. Our friends. Jeff, welcome back. Been far too long, sir.
No kidding. Good to hear you.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it, man.
Well, something about a pandemic happening, and it kind of put a kink in our social schedule.
Throws off everything, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, Jeff, I used to love coming to the Wispolitics luncheon and stealing a couple of cookies off the buffet table. Jeff, I know you guys have done virtual luncheons, but any plans to renew the live events, and how do we get invited?
What, you mean you haven't been coming to them? I've been having them right here. Where have you been?
Well, apparently Dominic hasn't shared the invites.
So anyway, yeah, we've been doing virtual stuff, and we have one on August 26th with Tommy Thompson, the UW system president. That's going to be virtual. We're working on some hybrid events, but because of the Delta variant, we're having to be careful. So we're tiptoeing back into the in-person event arena.
Now, Jeff, is it fair to describe Wispolitics as a sort of a subscription-based news gathering outfit for, let's call us, political junkies? Is it something similar to that? How would you describe it?
Sure, like a wire service for political junkies. That's good. We have a lot of free stuff. Our virtual events have been free, but we exist on subscription services to political and business professionals.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Jeff Mayers, president of Wispolitics.com, joining us on the phone. It's been far too long, Jeff. I was thinking about you because I get the updates and I see all the news, and there's always so much news. And I was reflecting on, all the fine events, the live events, and the cookies, as Crudy mentioned. And it's been far too long. So I wanted to make sure we got you back got you back on the show and we could talk about some of these issues.
You're feeling the news. What does that mean? You're feeling the news.
I'm feeling you, man. So let me ask you, in today's climate, and I've always appreciated the way you've conducted your live events, Jeff. And I've never really, known politically which way you go. I see you as a straight down the middle kind of a shooter, and you deal with all your guests and topics with respect and charm, Jeff. And I do appreciate that. Do you sense anything changing here over the last couple of years versus the prior years, Jeff?
Wow, this is requiring introspection here. Okay, look, I'm old school, I guess, in a way, because maybe I'm old. But old school journalism is try to play it down the middle, let the other side, let both sides get their say, and try to go with the facts. So yes, the last few years have been difficult. I think they've been challenged traditional journalism in many ways. We keep trying to do what we have been doing for 20 years, and so far so good. But yeah, it presents a lot of challenges.
Jeff, when you present these issues, and I think what makes it more challenging these days is it's not just, what the capital gains tax rate should be. We're talking about whether or not we define what happened at the nation's capital on January 6th as an insurrection or a terrorist attack, or, just a tourist that generally stayed inside the velvet ropes. Some of these things I find challenging to discuss with perhaps others who may not share my political ideology, because we're not agreeing on what the same set of facts are. How do you, as a straight line journalist down the middle, address those kinds of quirky issues that we have, seemingly more so today than I can ever remember, Jeff?
So we're trying to present a shared set of facts. Again, we're doing things in sort of an old school kind of way. And yes, I suppose some people are going to ignore the facts or ignore what law enforcement says, or okay, and we can report what they say. But in terms of a lot of the things, we're reporting from official sources, and these are sources that most of our audience does trust. There's a lot of Republicans and Democrats have their extreme parts of the party, and they will dispute a lot of things. But a lot of our folks are the operatives, legislative leadership, elected officials, and in Wisconsin, I think we're still able to, agree on a certain set of facts that drive the debate. Now, the debate may go off kilter every once in a while, but I think that for the most part, I think we're able to do that.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Our fine guest, Jeff Mayers from Wispolitics. Jeff, I got to tell you, one of the headlines that caught me totally out of left field recently, I never saw the retirement of Congressman Ron Kind coming. Jeff, did you see that coming? And did you expect that Donald Trump would so rapidly go and endorse the Republican candidate that ran against Kind the last time, the guy that apparently used campaign cash to go up to the insurrectionist capital on January 6th of this year, Van Orden? Jeff, did you see either of those events coming?
Well, I kind of suspected that Ron Kind might opt out. I mean, he had a really tough re-election last time. He has the same opponent he's targeted in 2022. His district could be tougher. He was musing about running for the U.S. Senate. A lot of these things, I think, it's the only swing district in Wisconsin. But it's been won by Trump the last two cycles, presidential cycles. So I think he knows it's a really tough slog ahead. National Republicans have really been after him, and so that wears on somebody. Some commentators have already pointed out, this is like when Dave Obey decided not to run, for reelection after being, a long-term incumbent. When your district starts to, go in a different direction than, you're used to, sometimes it's better to step aside and look at other things. The time, a moderate Democrat, it's tough to be a moderate in either party right now. And so Ron Kind has been very successful, but I think he sees the tough slog ahead here in this cycle.
Jeff, the census data just dropped today, and the map drawing is going to start in earnest. Well, Kind could have waited to see what his new district was going to look like, sort of an unusually shaped district currently. But Jeff, do you think that the redistricting process is going to suck a lot of the political wind out of the sails, if you will, for the next 4 to 6 months? I mean, we don't even know what maps they're going to be competing on next year.
Yeah, we're a little late in the process because the census data was late in being formulated, and they had to go back and fix it up a little bit. And then the Trump administration was undermining some of the census process, the traditional census process. And so so we're here a little late in the game, and here come the numbers, and both sides are well prepared to go after it. The question in Wisconsin is going to be, Tony Evers helps Democrats, but if it gets thrown into the state Supreme Court, that's not going to be that's conservative leaning. That's not a Democratic playing field. If it gets into the federal courts, that's maybe a little bit better for Democrats, but I don't think Democrats can say, everything's going to be okay after this redistricting process. We're going to come out and, we're going to win seats because of the remap. Probably not. Democrats are going to have to win in districts by having better campaigns, more money, better candidates. The district lines could be a little bit better than they are now, but I don't think the Democrats can depend upon that to vault into the majority. I think the majority is attainable maybe in a multi-cycle process. It's probably not attainable in 2022.
Jeff Mayers, president of Wispolitics.com. Last 60 seconds, sir. Lots of Democrats lining up to take on Ron Johnson. Don't know if he's still going to run or not. How does Wispolitics plan on addressing and attacking and getting some of these Democrats through Wispolitics and getting their message out?
I thought you guys had a pipeline to Ron Johnson. What's wrong? He's not telling you what
we shut that one off a while. But how are you going to deal with like 10 candidates, Jeff? That's a lot of candidates to get through.
Before Mandela Barnes got in, we had a virtual event.
Yeah.
You guys must have missed it. I did invite you, but anyway, no, I'm kidding. But that was. It was difficult, managing all those candidates. Yeah. I mean, I think we did it okay virtually. That was before Mandela Barnes got in. I mean, we'll try that again. Hopefully we can do it in person. But there's a top tier and there's a second tier in this contest. Okay. Mandela Barnes and Sarah Godlewski and Alex Lasry and Tom Nelson are, they're in the first tier. The other people are, relative unknowns. And so, we're going to see how these four candidates compete.
Sure.
Jeff Bear's got to cut you off there. If we want to talk about the second tier, we talk about the Cubs. Appreciate your appearance.
Thank you, Jeff.
More Devil's Advocates.
You are the enemy of the people.
The Devil's Advocates are taking the political party back to State Street to Madison's party destination, Hawks Bar and Grill. Tuesday, August 24th, the Devil's Advocates broadcast live from Hawks 2 to 5 p.m. And then the Summer Lovin' Party really begins. You're going to want to get your share. Inferior radio shows would be exhausted after this many parties. But the Devil's Advocates have prayed our whole lives for this. We were built for Summer Lovin'. Come to Hawks Bar and Grill. Tuesday, August 24th, party with the Devil's Advocates and get your Summer Lovin' on. Hi, I'm Mike Crute, and I'm the owner of Devil Radio. I'm asking for your support now. Wisconsin has 81 conservative radio stations, blanketing the entire state with conspiracies of stolen elections, anti-vaxxer messaging, and it's all fueled by dark money. The left's best and only on-air voices in our state cannot be funded entirely by pizza parlors. The battle for the soul of Wisconsin is ongoing. Go to devilradio927.com and click the Support Devil Radio tab. Give now if you can. Thank you.
President Biden's American Jobs Plan would invest in clean energy jobs, move the country towards clean power, and create millions of good-paying jobs for families like yours. It's the most progressive plan to create American jobs in decades. Members of Congress need to hear that this plan would help you and your family. Join Move On's fight to help working families. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. Paid for by MoveOn.org Civic Action.
This is Rocker. I'm sitting on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash, and I'm enjoying a floral forward Manhattan called As Long as There's Whiskey. It features Rocker Rye whiskey with a hint of blueberry, a touch of smoky Amaro, and it's finished off with St. Germain. It's a Rocker Rye Manhattan at Sal's Tomato Pies on Livingston. Ask for it by name, As Long as There's Whiskey. You can also enjoy Rocker Spirits at the Wisco and Tiny's Tap on Willie Street. You must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the world together.
Help me, Devil Radio. You're my only hope.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Croots are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Damn, I forgot it was the 420 break. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open. 844-967-2789.
You only forgot it was the 420 break because you're already so high. Appreciate our most recent guest, probably sober, Jeff Mayers, president from over at Wispolitics, anticipating eagerly the arrival of our next guest. He'll join us in just a moment. Matt Rothschild, Batman, the vigilante of good governance from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. But Dominic, in the meantime, there's some breaking news in Trumpville. What is the breaking news? You broke it to me over the commercial break. Break it for the audience. Dom.
A statement by Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of the United States of America, received in my email box here just a few short minutes ago.
That's the former guy?
That's the former guy.
Oh,
yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to check.
yeah.
We're on to 46 now?
TFM. The people of Wisconsin, writes Donald Trump, are lucky to have a strong and great leader like Representative Janelle Brandon.
I can hear Matt Rothschild laughing in the lobby right now.
A great leader like Rep. Janelle Brandon, who issued subpoenas for Brown, Green Bay, and Milwaukee counties and all of their election evidence and so-called results. Wisconsin shows many, to put it mildly, signs of cheating in the 2020 election, and people want answers now. We still don't know why Michael Spitzer Rubenstein, a New Yorker, had multiple keys to the election day counting rooms and a City of Green Bay employee ID when records show he was never employed by Green Bay. A Milwaukee election employee even acknowledged dropping off just the margin of ballots needed for a Biden win at 3 a.m. The great American experiment cannot withstand corruption. We must demand our elected officials follow the law, and we must hold them accountable. All eyes are on Wisconsin as they begin their election audit. Hopefully, Republican Speaker Robin Vos has the integrity and strength Wisconsin needs to support Rep. Brandon's efforts. Our country is counting on it. Donate to Save America.
The second Wisconsin-directed email today from the Trump Save America Super PAC.
Oh, there was an earlier one.
Oh, there was.
Oh, I did not see that one.
Endorsement of Derek Van Orden. Derek Van Orden is running for Congress in Wisconsin's 3rd congressional district. Derek is a former Navy SEAL, senior chief who bravely served and defended our country. He strongly supports our military veterans, law enforcement, and he will always fight for secure borders. Now, law enforcement, I would point out, sorry to interrupt this fine press missive from Trump, but Van Orden's the guy that went up and used campaign cash to go to the U.S. Capitol insurrection.
That is correct.
And
To my
while we
understanding,
haven't
yes.
seen charges against Mr. Van Orden yet, didn't seem very supportive of the Capitol Police, the insurrectionists.
My understanding, he claimed to not have gone past, the barricades or a certain area. That was proven, to my understanding, to be a lie. Some pictures did then come out of him past where he said he actually was. So he may have been misleading people, perhaps, on where he was, and perhaps also on how he, funded this operation.
Or as Donald Trump would say, my kind of guy. So we've got the endorsement of Derek Van Orden. I'll end it here for you. He supports the military, veterans, law enforcement, and he will always fight for secure borders, the Second Amendment, and our incredible farmers. Derek has my complete and total endorsement.
Complete
Exclamation
and total.
point.
Excellent.
So he is offering this endorsement of Derek Van Orden. Again, he is the Republican candidate seeking to replace Ron Kind. But the email is actually a solicitation for Donald Trump's super PAC. I'll prove it. It says donate to Save America. And I suspect strongly, no mention of Van Orden's campaign.
No, you can't.
No
donate.
way to give to the Van Orden campaign.
No direct link there. Just a link to Trump's PAC.
Well, in all fairness, he couldn't pick out Van Orten in a lineup where there's only Van Orten in it.
I don't think Janelle Brandon is exactly, what's he say? Have you seen her face? I don't think she's quite his type, except in that she demonstrates loyalty.
Well, that's very important.
And conspiratorial theories.
She would not be my first choice.
No.
When I click through on the Van Orden solicitation, let's save America. President Trump is working around the clock. Is he even got a job? He's working around the clock to save America from Joe Biden and the radical left, but he cannot do it alone. He's calling on you to step up for 1 hour only. You can increase your impact by 300%. What's that mean? I don't know. He doesn't know. They're just making it up. It's all a grift.
It sounds like he just changed the name on a Viagra ad.
Please make a contribution of any amount immediately to help President Trump save America and claim your 300% impact offer. Oh, God, Dom, I've only got 58 minutes and 44 seconds left. Your contribution, $50. Your total impact, $200. But like the $100 is wiggling at me. He wants me.
Yeah, come on.
He wants me to
Touch
give
me.
100.
Touch me. What happens if you hit the yellow, hit the red button?
I touched it. It didn't happen. Nothing happens.
It sounds like those paper towels were 6 equals 18 somehow.
Well, I love that the boxes are already pre-checked for me here on this solicitation page. President Trump is ready to save America from Joe Biden and his socialist allies, but he can't do it alone, so he needs your help. Make this a monthly recurring donation. They've already marked the box for me.
Excellent. Saving you time.
Oh, and there's another one marked. President Trump, the left is putting America last. I need all hands on deck. If we're going to save America, my team is handing me an updated donor list soon. Will I see your name? Hope not. Step up now to increase your impact. Oh, God, Dom. 400%.
What?
Donate an additional $100 automatically on 8/13. So they got me on the recurring, the additional 100, and plus the additional thing. And campaign finance law requires us to collect your employment information. One box here says, I'm retired. That's like their biggest box. But I strongly suspect they'll still take my money. What do you think?
I know they will.
And I'm sure they'll share with that super cool guy from Wisconsin, Derek Van Orden.
And congratulations, Janelle Brandon. Rep Trump has his eye on you, baby.
Come back, Matt Rothschild, Batman in studio next.
Talk it up, man.
And nothing else matters.
Because we're very high.
I find your lack of Devil Radio 92.7 disturbing. Do not fail me again.
Hi, I'm Mike Crute, and I'm the owner of Devil Radio. I'm asking for your support now. Wisconsin has 81 conservative radio stations blanketing the entire state with conspiracies of stolen elections, anti-vaxxer messaging, and it's all fueled by dark money. The left's best and only on-air voices in our state cannot be funded entirely by pizza parlors. The battle for the soul of Wisconsin is ongoing. Go to devilradio927.com and click the Support Devil Radio tab. Give now if you can. Thank you.
Do you want Wisconsin to suck? I don't. That's why you're listening to me now. I'm Hawk, owner of the Jade Monkey. Come to the Monkey and tell them you're there because the devil sent you. Then I can spend more money on ads and help Devil Radio keep Wisconsin from spiraling into post-apocalyptic Republican suckage. I mean, that's Iowa's job. Buy a round of the Jade Monkey and save Wisconsin one drink at a time.
Suck down drinks so we don't have to suck.
To Afghanistan, where another key capital falls. I'm Jackie Quinn with an AP News Minute. The U.S. is sending an additional 3,000 troops to Afghanistan. They'll be there to help evacuate personnel from the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. State Department spokesman Ned Price.
In light of the evolving security situation, we expect to draw down to a core diplomatic presence in Afghanistan in the coming weeks.
A series of provincial capitals have fallen to the Taliban, including the latest, Kandahar. President Biden is pushing for government and private workplaces to require COVID vaccinations, but he's holding off on seeking mandates.
Unvaccinated folks are being hospitalized and dying as a result of not being vaccinated.
Flooding brought by heavy rain shut down some freeways in the Detroit area today. The Midwest was pounded with storms. Nearly 1 million homes and businesses in Michigan began the day without electricity. Wall Street ended higher. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/free. How much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
News, stream chat. For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. A Dane County Board subcommittee unanimously approved a proposal to assist county residents struggling to afford some Dane County services to more easily apply to get fees waived. The proposal is designed to alleviate or eliminate burdens for low-income residents. This week, the DeForest and McFarland school districts announced all students and staff will be required to wear a mask when in district buildings and school buses, regardless of vaccination status. The Milwaukee Brewers beat the Chicago Cubs last night 10-0. All-star pitcher Corbin Burns tied an MLB record, recording 10 consecutive strikeouts. The Crew will go for a series sweep when they take on the Cubs this afternoon at 1:20. Forecast of partly cloudy to sunny skies throughout the day today with a chance for a stray thunderstorm possible. Winds up to 10 miles an hour and a high today of 87 degrees. Partly cloudy skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 58 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Thursday 4 o'clock happy hour. It rolls on down. We've been joined by a fine guest here in studio. He's Batman. He is Matt Rothschild, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Matt, welcome back. Gotcha. I think we got baby in the corner over there, as long as we can hear him.
We're good. We're good. Hey, Matt, good to see you, man. I appreciate you coming around, dude.
Well, thanks. It's my pleasure.
We're going to play musical microphones with you, Matt.
That's all right. Whatever works. Fine by me.
Matt, crazy headlines. Mike Gableman, the former Supreme Court Justice, now lead investigator of the cyber forensic audit coming down the pike here in the state of Wisconsin. Well, I was a little troubled when I woke up this morning and realized Gableman took a trip not only to Arizona to observe the Cyber Ninja fraud there, but he's at Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium. Does his, I don't even know how to describe this man. He's not afraid to be a little partisan.
Is he a neutral arbiter in your opinion?
Yes,
Matt
that's a great way.
He's got a little credibility issue, doesn't he? I mean,
to me,
I mean, it's just unbelievable how he and some of his fellow travelers on the far right are so biased on this thing when they're supposed to be the ones who are investigating it. Janelle Brangen, you mentioned her earlier. She's the head of the Wisconsin Assembly Elections Committee. And in December, she sent out an email to her constituents saying that Trump won the election. And she's head of the Assembly Committee now, issuing these sham subpoenas, champinas, as we call them.
Champinas, I like that.
And then you've got Gableman, who, as you call him, Trudy, the most corrupt former Wisconsin Supreme Court justice in history, who wouldn't get off the John Doe 2 case and had slandered his predecessor on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. You know, why in the world did Robin Vos put this guy in charge here? I mean, Vos knows better. Vos is not an idiot, and he's not a far right fire breather. He is a willing servant of Wisconsin manufacturers and commerce. Don't get me wrong. He's given them everything they ever wanted. But why did he put Branchen as head of the Assembly Committee? Why did he put Gableman in charge here? He keeps trying to appease his right-wing base, and he can't appease them. We heard the chants last Friday where they were saying Vos has got to go, that Sheriff Clark was leading. I mean, at some point, they're going to run him out of town, I think, even though he's bent over backwards for him.
Well, politics makes for strange bedfellows, let's just say. Robin Vos needed to lay down with the former corrupted Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, because Gableman came out right after the election and said, "Oh, it's probably stolen." You know, the election's been stolen from
the
Donald
unelected
Trump.
Bureaucrats of the Wisconsin Election Commission has stolen your vote.
Yeah, these unelected bureaucrats, as Trudy was saying in the last half hour, you know, last hour, these guys were put there by the Republicans when the Republicans destroyed the Government Accountability Board, and they constructed a board the way they wanted it. The way they wanted it was 3 Dems, 3 Republicans, and that's what they got. And that's the board that certified the election. So they're in no position to complain right now.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I can literally see a little kid across the street climbing in the passenger side window of a car. I'm just waiting for him to fall on his head. He fell in. Sorry, you say it's entertained me. I don't mean to be distracted.
What?
That little kid, he just
Yeah,
fell
I understand the words that came out of your mouth, but okay.
I haven't been this entertained since Brian and I had a kestrel eating a bird out here on the tree one day.
That's funny. I appreciate Matt Rothschild showing up for the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Sorry about that, man. We'll stay on topic.
That's right. I didn't crawl through a window to get in here. So, I went up the stairs.
That's how you get out.
Matt, this whole big lie, and people like Robin Vos, I would think, most, I think, Adam Kinzinger, I believe, a congressman who's on the January 6th committee, a Republican appointed by Speaker Pelosi, says most of the people in Congress as Republicans know this is all BS, know this is a lie, and they're going along with it for the very calculated political reason. But my concern is of the long-term consequence of constantly pounding that, the Wisconsin Election Commission created by the Republicans, they're the ones stealing your vote. And that there's something, wrong going on here. There's election fraud. And I think about, my mother-in-law and the other volunteers who over the years have given their time and energy to show up and, make you sign the book and look at your ID.
Right. And all the great people from the League of Women Voters who staff those.
I mean, it is an effort. Seriously, it's an effort by we the people. Right. And they come back and it's not just, China flipped it, but there's, how does that reflect on the volunteers? And you see that these folks now are getting yelled at and screamed at, and it's just it's getting worse, man. And I don't see the Republicans, because unless they're trying to fix a problem or they're trying to get elected, right? There can't be both of these things because there's no evidence of anything happening. What do you see as a long-term consequence to democracy if the Republicans continue to go down this road?
This is the most toxic atmosphere I've ever witnessed in my adult lifetime. I've been watching politics for 42 years now, and this is the scariest moment. I thought January 6th was the scariest moment. It may have been, the scariest 6 hours, but we're still in that moment. That moment didn't go away. I thought that the Trump fever was going to break on the evening of January 6th, and maybe it broke for 12 hours, but it come raging back. And to see people like Brangen or Gableman, the My Pillow guy and all these guys out there just saying the most ridiculous, toxic things about our democracy. And, at the rally last Friday that Brangen was at here at the Capitol with Vicki McKenna, where the audience was yelling traitors, treason again. That's what people were saying on January 6th when they were clubbing cops over the head with the American flag. And that's when they were saying hang Vice President Pence and erected a gallows. They came prepared. This stuff we haven't seen before in our country. Yeah. And we've got to realize just how dangerous it is. And you're right. You mentioned Adam Kinzinger. I'd like to mention two former Republican congressmen here, Tom Petri and Reed Ribble. They have come out against Trump. They signed a document about a month after January 6th saying the Republican Party's got to break ways with Trump. Trump is a danger to our democracy. And if Republicans don't move away from Trump, maybe we should form another party. I mean, I'd like to hear more from Reed Ribble and Tom Petri all across the state. They need to talk to people within their family, within their political family, and try to bring people back from the abyss.
Well, and the scariest part, man, is not just the political insurrection and the big lie. I mean, that's very troubling to us political junkies because we know the greater authoritarian effect it could have. But what's really scary to me is the politicization of a pandemic. I mean, we got Republicans playing with people's lives, not just in this state, across the country, but a guy like Steve Nass, Senator Republican Steve Nass, who's trying to tell the UW system they're not allowed to instill mask mandates, and Republicans through a specific committee is going to control the Board of Regents. Well, this is ridiculous talk. And I mean, we wouldn't let this knuckle dragger into the poker game on Thursday night. Why are we letting a guy like Steve Nass dictate health policy to the students at UW, man? It seems crazy to me.
It's crazy. It's cruel. It's sadistic. It's idiotic. I mean, choose your adjective, but it is grotesque in every way. And Tommy Thompson knows it. He's heading the UW system. You can't get more, red blood Republican in your veins than Tommy Thompson.
I mean, a Pelosi Republican.
I'm sure that's what they're going to be calling him. I mean, he doesn't belong in the Republican Party. And when he's done being head of the University of Wisconsin system, I want to hear from Tommy Thompson coming out and saying, look, we've got to come to our senses or the democracy's going down the tubes.
Perhaps at the Wispolitics virtual event coming up on August 26th. We'll have to tune in for that.
Yeah, you better go to that one.
Hopefully you'll stick around or tune in. You don't have to go. It's virtual. We got the real thing. We got Batman in studio in the Batcave here in Madison. He is the executive director, Matt Rothschild, from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. And Matt, you must have seen the article in ProPublica yesterday. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson being accused effectively of playing favorites for really big donors that gave him $21 million cumulatively. And that's two families. That's the widow Hendricks and that's the U'Lines. They gave him $21 million. He gave them back about $215 million in tax savings in the year 2018 alone, perhaps something more like $1 billion over a decade. Matt, I want to get your reaction. Do you think Rojo bought and paid for?
Nice return on investment if you're Elizabeth and Richard U'Line and Diane Hendricks. Holy smokes. They got more than what they paid for. They got an incredible return on their investment in Ron Johnson. I mean, this has got sleaze written all over it. This may be the biggest, sleaziest move by an elected official to reward his donors in the history of this kind of graft, legalized graft that we've seen in our country. It's disgraceful on Ron Johnson's part. But it's very transparent that he was, a willing servant for his big donors, and they got, they made bank.
Matt Rothschild, we saw new Marquette University Law School polling out yesterday. Our friend Charles Franklin joined us, and the new polling on Ron Johnson's not strong. Johnson's -9, according to Dominic's math, since October of 2020 when he was last polled. Do you think Ron Johnson is seeing the numbers? I mean, this was before the latest ProPublica article, but he's been on the front page. He's been the newsmaker here in the state of Wisconsin. He's been sort of a mini Trump, and it's strange to me. I didn't see Rojo going full Trump clown car, but he has, and it's not a popular stance. It doesn't appear to be, but does he think it's his only avenue to electoral re-election, or is he just burning it all down before he leaves town?
I don't know what he thinks or how hard he thinks or how much he thinks actually. But I actually don't think he's running again. And certainly this ProPublica article is not going to help him. I mean, that's a beautiful attack ad already made up in print form there. I don't think he's going to run again. I think the only way he can save any shred of dignity or credibility that he has left, and Lord knows he doesn't have many left if he has one, is to say, I'm going to make good on what I've said all along, including on your program, that I'm only going to serve 2 terms and then I'm going home.
And if it's not Rojo, who is the Republican going to be? I've heard Mike Gallagher. He showed a little bit of courage on January 6th, but has done nothing but lost his spine since, Matt. His prior military record in and of itself is not going to carry him to victory, or will it?
I actually think it's going to be Scott Walker. I think Scott Walker will return if Ron Johnson does not decide to run for re-election.
Damn your whorish mouth, Matt Rothschild.
I would say, please God, let that be, because any of these candidates, I mean, if Ron Johnson is a weak candidate, Scott Walker is a known commodity. I mean, this state had Walker fatigue 2, 3, 4 years ago. And I mean, he didn't go anywhere. He's been all over social media, maybe out of the limelight, not on the television, but if you watch the Foxy News or the OAN or the Newsmax, he's on almost every single night. So you think he's keeping this high profile? So he can run for Senate? When Vukmer ran, he didn't want the job.
Well, I think he wants it now. This political virus that people get, that, they want to become governor or president of the United States. That's incurable. Even if you get an inoculation, you got breakthrough virus, and he's got the breakthrough virus with this political bug. And from a Republican national committee perspective, he's not a bad choice. He's got much more name recognition than Mike Gallagher. Who knows Mike Gallagher outside of his district?
Yeah, but Scott Walker wrote a pro-vaccine op-ed. I thought he was right for all the wrong reasons, but the Trumpsters are going to hate his ass now, Matt.
Yeah, he plays both sides of the Trump thing. He's for Trump when it serves his interest, and then he keeps a distance if it serves his interest. He's more slippery than a lemon seed, so I wouldn't call him out.
Man, you going to stick around for us?
Yeah, you're buying a drink later, aren't you?
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Actually, it's Dom's night to buy
You already said it. You heard it. We got the tape.
Well, I'll buy Matt a drink. Do you remember when the Mike Pence presidential debate happened? Scott Walker, very proud of his preparation of Pence. And then he went on the MSNBC, and Scott Walker wore a mask. And then he went on Fox News immediately thereafter and took the mask off. He's that guy.
He's that slippery.
Come back with us. He's Batman. He's Matt Rothschild, Executive Director of Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, a friend of ours. We're in the Bat Cave. The guano's getting deep. More Devils. We'll be back.
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
No, I'm going to stay for a while. How about that?
You see?
Freedom.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Hi, I'm Mike Crute, and I'm the owner of Devil Radio. I'm asking for your support now. Wisconsin has 81 conservative radio stations, blanketing the entire state with conspiracies of stolen elections, anti-vaxxer messaging, and it's all fueled by dark money. The left's best and only on-air voices in our state cannot be funded entirely by pizza parlors. The battle for the soul of Wisconsin is ongoing. Go to devilradio927.com and click the Support Devil Radio tab. Give now if you can. Thank you.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
I've already guaranteed this will be my last term. I'm doing this because I want to solve these problems.
Was it problem solving when you blocked COVID relief or when you downplayed the insurrection?
I want to do it because I'm so concerned about the direction of this country. I've got something to offer.
Like becoming a hydroxychloroquine salesman?
I'll go home with a smile on my face, realizing I'd left it all in the field.
You must be exhausted.
I don't feel like my time here has been particularly successful.
Go home.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
WTTN 1580 AM News Talk Radio, built for the 99%, is rural Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
Who's to know if your soul will fade at all? The one you sold to fool the world. You lost your self-esteem along.
Women want them. Men want to be them. Tom and Cruz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you missed any of this fine program, please go online to devilradio927.com. You can listen to and download podcasts and interviews.
Dominic, our fine guest, Batman, he's sticking around. He hears someone else is buying the drinks, and that's all he needed to hear. Matt Rothschild, executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, a friend of this product. And Matt, the census data came down in the state of Wisconsin. We're trailing the nation. We're not growing as quickly as other states. I blame Scott Walker. But above and beyond that, we're going to see new congressional boundaries, and it's going to be a battle. We're going to war in the state of Wisconsin. Matt, how do you think it's going to turn out?
Well, I mean, the Ron Kind district is going to be the interesting one to see as far as the congressional districts go. And then the question is, will Voss and Lemieux rig the maps as grotesquely as they rigged them in 2011? And my guess is that the answer to that is yes, because that's what they're in business to do. And Voss wants his veto-proof majority, and that would be one way he tried to get it. Fortunately, this time around, there's a governor who's a Democrat who will veto those bills, and then there'll be a race into court. And it'll be up to the judges to decide, what the map looks like. I'm kind of hopeful that we're going to get better looking maps this time around, because any judge who looks at, for instance, what the People's Maps Commission has been doing, taking all sorts of testimony from people, getting 800 maps from citizens who've submitted the maps. I think any judge who has any independence is going to say, let's not take any more rigged maps here in Wisconsin, because a panel of federal judges ruled that 2011 rigging, that redistricting back then, was one of the worst unconstitutional gerrymanders in the history of the United States.
No, you're reading it all wrong. In fact, Robin Voss and his ilk they've changed their stripes just today with the new census data out. They put up a website. You, Matt, you could draw the new maps. Republicans, suddenly they want your input, but I suspect the maps they're going to use are coming from a highly paid law firm somewhere. I think those might be the winning maps. Matt, what do you think of this charade?
Well, it is
the Republicans putting up a citizens map portal.
Well, I think he's heard from the citizens. As I say, Voss isn't an idiot, and he knows that people in Wisconsin really want fair maps. We've inundated the Fair Maps Commission with 800 or more citizen-drawn maps, and I'm just going to encourage everyone who submitted a map to the People's Maps Commission to submit it to Robin Voss's portal and show them what a fair map would look like, either statewide or in their own district. This is a very tardy attempt by Robin Voss to recognize that there is a virtue in transparency, and if he just take up the map that the People's Maps Commission draws, he could save himself the trouble.
Matt Rothschild, we keep hearing about a race to court, be it the U.S. courts, the federal courts, or the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which has said they don't want original jurisdiction, but it doesn't mean if it goes to, let's say, Brad Schimmel's court in Waukesha would eventually end up in the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Matt, do you have any insight, this race to pick a court? Who gets to pick? I mean, do the federal courts have jurisdiction? The state courts? How do we know?
Well, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to play one on radio. The lawyers.
We do. Come on, join us.
The lawyers are going to figure it out, and they'll all be bringing different claims. Some will be bringing state claims. Some will be bringing federal claims, and maybe federal claims on racial discrimination, racial gerrymandering. The courts in the federal courts have got to hear those. Even the U.S. Supreme Court has said that racial gerrymandering cases belong in federal court. So that may be one way to go.
Matt, my only concern is the Democrats. We put so much stake in the newly drawn maps. We don't even know what they're going to look like yet, but we're hoping that it's going to level the playing field. But my big concern is this state is not the same state it was a decade ago. And the rural parts of the state of Wisconsin are much redder, and low propensity voters have been coming out since the Scott Walker recall. Well, Matt, I don't care what maps you draw. Rural Wisconsin's way redder than it used to be, and you're still going to see Republican legislative majorities unless something changes in a big way. And I don't know if the Democrats have prepared their base for that.
Well, there are two things that they need to do, if I can have my pundit hat on. One is Democrats need to get their base out and more of their base out. But the second thing, and I think all of us need to do who are pro-democracy progressives, is find a couple people who may not have voted the way we wanted to, but we know other than that, they aren't, flying Confederate flags or Nazi flags or evil people. We know they're an okay person. Try to convince some of those people that, look, this Trump route, this anti-democracy path that this country is on is not the way for this country to go. And we just can't have that if we're going to have a functioning civil society. And I think it's possible to bring people around one person at a time. Talk to people you already know that you respect in some way, but not in their political choices, and try to talk some sense in them, not by yelling at them and calling them names, but trying to find some common ground with them.
Matt Rothschild, Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Well, we got about 3 minutes left, Matt. You put out a piece at the Wisconsin Examiner highlighting the fact that there's a couple of Democratic legislators putting forth bills to ban gerrymandering. Now, of course, we know Republicans, they're in charge of the legislature. Why'd you put this out? What are you trying to get to?
Well, the solution for gerrymandering isn't really to send it to one judge or another judge in federal court or state court. The solution is to change our statute here in Wisconsin and to ban gerrymandering once and for all. And fortunately, two legislators, Senator Jeff Smith in the Senate and Representative Deb Andraka down in the Milwaukee area, have introduced two bills that would give us nonpartisan redistricting. And there are three Republican co-sponsors on it too.
What? Wait, say that again?
Three Republican co-sponsors on this bill. It's a bipartisan bill. The people of Wisconsin want to ban gerrymandering and want a fair redistricting process. These bills would give it to us. Why not have at least a public hearing on this?
Well, that's the point. So what's the effort? What would be the step to do this? They have to involve a Republican, and who is that Republican?
Well, one is Dewey Strobel in the Senate, and
and
the other is Rob Swearingen up north. They both head up committees that would have jurisdiction over these bills on banning gerrymandering. So I'm encouraging people, send them an email, tell them, demand a public hearing. What's to lose about letting the public speak on this issue that the public feels strongly on?
Issue, and I think it would help with some of these interpersonal angst that we have. If we actually have fair maps, that part goes away. We know that there's a lot of Republicans out there that feel like, well, we win on ideas and don't consider the gerrymander. But when more Dems vote and less Dems actually serve, that becomes a little problematic. If it's actually reflective of the will of the people through a nonpartisan gerrymander, I think that would help us all.
Yeah, let's get a public hearing. Let's get a vote. Take a stand.
Matt Rothschild, he's Batman, the vigilante of good governance from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Thanks for coming around, Matt. Want to also say thank you to Ann Jacob. She is the chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and also our pal Jeff Mayer from Wispolitics. Coming up on Friday's big show, we got former U.S. Attorney James Santel. Stick around. Earl will be back on Monday, but he's got Sandy Williams and Stu Man, the newsman, filling in. Keep it locked right here. Devil Radio 92.7 FM. Thanks for listening.
Fake.
I don't feel like my time here has been particularly successful.
It's over. Nothing matters anymore.
Get over it. It's over. Go home.